All right, it is 7 o'clock. Call to order this regular meeting of the Beverly City Council. Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Ms. Kent, could you please call the roll?
James?
Here.
Copeland?
Here.
Baldwin?
Here.
Flaherty?
Here.
Flowers?
Here.
Houseman?
Here.
Rand? Rotundo?
Here.
And Guanci.
I am here. Thank you, Ms. Kent. Councilor Houseman, please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Houseman. Perfect as always. So let's get the show going, and we'll go first to Mr. Paul Earl, who is Chair of the Harbor Management Authority. Mr. Earl.
Excuse me. You need to read the script.
Oh, goodness. Sorry, Mr. Earl, hang on a second.
I will.
Script from remotely conducted city council meetings, Monday, May 3rd, 2021. Smile. Thanks, Ms. Kent. Confirming member access. As a preliminary matter, this is Paul Guanci, President of the Beverly City Council. Before beginning the meeting, I'd like to announce that this meeting is being recorded by the City of Beverly and live streamed by BevCam on both Channel 99 and via BevCam's YouTube channel. I am confirming that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Introduction to remote meeting. Good evening. This open meeting of the Beverly City Council is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspended the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as adequate alternative public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting does have public participation. We have 2 public hearings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and televised live, and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other participants or viewers may be able to see and hear you, and anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. You have the option to turn off your video if you're participating via computer. All participants should keep their microphones or phones muted unless recognized by me to reduce background noise and feedback. Please wait until the person speaking is finished before speaking so we can clearly hear all participants. In addition, because of the remote meeting, I'm going to read Rule 22 of the Rules and Regulations of the Beverly City Council. Rule 22, all subcommittees of the council shall cause records to be kept of their proceedings. They shall report by ordinance, order, or resolve unless otherwise provided by law. No subcommittee shall act by separate consultation, and no report of as a body shall be received unless agreed in subcommittee, actually notified and assembled for the purpose in hand, and signed by a majority of the council of the subcommittee. Every subcommittee to which any subject matter may be referred shall report thereon as soon as possible after full consideration thereof and a vote thereon. However, if the council may by majority vote order any matter pending before subcommittee to be acted upon, the subcommittee at its next meeting and/or to be forth returned to the full council. For those of you that are new, joining us for the first time, that just means that rather than break for committee work, we'll take all of our orders on the floor and vote as committee of the whole. That's if 6 of you decide to agree with me this evening. Ms. Kent, could you please call the roll?
Ames?
Yes.
Copeland?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes.
Flaherty?
Yes.
Flowers?
Yes.
Houseman?
Yes.
Rand? Rotundo?
Yes.
And Guanci.
I am a yes. Meeting ground rules for public hearings. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will invite the council to provide any comment, questions, or motions. After I've heard from everybody on the city council, I will go out to members of the public. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. You may mute yourself or be muted by the meeting host by clicking the microphone mute, unmute, mute icon, pressing the mute button on your telephone, or pressing *6 on your telephone keypad. The chat function is usually reserved for city councilors. If you're a member of the public, you're more than welcome to type your name in there or use the raise hand icon. I'm starting to get better at paying attention to that. After we've heard from everybody, we'll close the public hearing and then take a vote. Thank you, everyone. Now, let's go to Mr. Paul Earl, the chair of the Beverly's Harbor Management Authority. Mr. Earl.
Okay, thank you. Good evening to the council president, councilors, and everyone viewing the meeting on BevCam or streaming on YouTube. I appreciate being invited to the city council meeting tonight to provide a brief overview of the Beverly Harbor Management Authority, BHMA, which I'll use going forward, okay? All councilors have received documents related to BHMA over the last few weeks. One summarizing recent and current projects that BHMA is involved with, and one providing more detail on our background, areas of involvement, and details on selected projects over the last 10 plus years. Let me provide a few highlights and then I'll take your questions. BHMA was created by the state legislature in 1987. Our mission includes partnering with the city and others in supporting and funding waterfront development, public access, and in-water activities for all stakeholders in the city, including residents, commercial fishermen, recreational boaters, recreational fishermen, and visitors. BHMA has 11 members, 9 of which are appointed by the mayor with staggered terms, and 2 city councilors, currently Estelle Rand and Todd Rotundo, who are appointed every year, I believe it is, by the president of the city council. BHMA members have diverse backgrounds and expertise in business, technology, maritime industry, and environmental areas. We manage, oversee the operation per our charter of public waterfront facilities. These include the municipal marina down at Glover Wharf. We have over 50 slips, 47 recreational and commercial vessels, 3 or 4 town vessels for the harbor master and the regional fireboat. And we have a waiting list right now of about 20, which is wonderful. I just wish the footprint down there was a little larger. We also have the public pier where people fish off of it. And there's a lot of benches where folks can go out and just enjoy and see the views and talk and things like that. And recently we've been pretty aggressive on kayak and dinghy racks throughout the city. We're now at 6, 7 different locations, detail which was in the paper that you were given. And we currently have 120 rack spaces and they're all full. We have a waiting list of about 50. We engage a part-time marina manager, Sean Cianciarelli, from the engineering department, who we pay for, to oversee day-to-day activities at the marinas. Any surplus we make from the marina customers, kayak customers, dinghy operations, because we have charges for all that, of course, we plow back in and reinvest into mission-related projects, which I'll mention a few of them in a minute, but there is a complete list of them over the last 10 years, not complete, but close. In the document. We collaborate with city officials to propose municipal landside and waterside harbor improvement projects, pursue funding and grants for those projects. I need to shout out a special thanks to Catherine Barrett. I don't want to embarrass her, but she did such a wonderful job last week scrambling because some stuff came in kind of at the last minute and we had a May 1 deadline to get the 2 applications in. So thanks again. Then we're involved and participate in project oversight for either infrastructure projects or some of the ones we start ourselves, like the kayaks. We invest in and implement this is Todd's term, impact projects, but I kind of like it, including the kayak racks at convenient locations, as I've already noted, public access signage. It's a mixture of white and blue now, but if you go down Lothar Street, Water Street, and throughout Goat Hill, you'll see the new blue signs, which were designed actually by Emily Flaherty, who's on the BHMA, and we plan to do another round of those either later this year or certainly next year. They seem to be received nicely, so you can kind of know what you can do at each of those locations other than just access the water. Our current initiatives include continuing to expand kayak racks capacity. We're looking to install as an experiment a viewing machine at Independence Park, which will look out to the islands, and it'll be 360, so you can go around, and it's a combination machine. We're funding this. It's a combination machine that is ADA compliant, but also kids could look into the one, parents could be in the taller one, and probably put it down near where the steps go down in the middle of Independence Park there, and we'll, if that goes well, we'd probably plan to invest some more in that area. We currently participate in the Aubert Park Resiliency Study and in the Confined Aquatic Disposal, i.e. CAD, cell feasibility study. The latter one has to do with the possibility of us digging a huge hole somewhere, either the west side of the bridge or out towards the islands, be encapsulated. All of you know we had dredging issues the last 2 years when we planned to do something and we're told we couldn't. And this would enable us to, in the city, to continue. And it could result in a good economic return because we wouldn't use the whole capacity at all. We could take tipping fees, whatever, from other people that are looking to dispose of it. So we're looking at a feasibility study along with the engineering department and see what happens. We're participating in grant applications preparation for the proposed Glover Wharf infrastructure projects. These two applications that went in last week are for a new commercial hoist pier. The other one's 40 odd years old and unsafe and falling down and rotting and everything else. It'll be replaced by concrete, just like the nice floats down there for commercial and rec. And the other one is another feasibility study, along with permitting, for an expanded transient float, which would wrap around the front of the pier, and then a new recreational fishing float, which the location that's being considered is between the commercial marina and the bridge. And that would enable us to pack more things in, but also continue to meet the needs of all stakeholders down there, of which there's plenty. Plus, at the same time, expand the transient flow. With the new restaurant coming and other development at the water, we feel that if there's something that can be done there, we got to at least look into it and maybe then move stuff forward with grants and other things. And we're initiating a technology innovation pilot project. I just got a memo with the rules today involving increased vessel security at the marinas and increased commerce from transient vessels visiting Beverly, being able to measure all of the above, track it, and in real time. And it includes a virtual marketplace later this summer into the fall, which businesses could sign up for. And so the land side of Beverly could be promoted heavily to anglers coming in, boats coming in. It also has a app which will be available in the Google Store as well as the Apple Store, which will be easy to find. And hopefully a lot of people will put the app on their phones, and that will have the virtual marketplace and be able to tie to commerce opportunities for all of you businessmen and women in the city. And last but not least, BHMA also promotes Beverly's wonderful waterfront by throwing a party every summer in September called Harbor Fest, which we started 10, 11 years ago, well, 10. With the 10th annual one currently scheduled for Saturday, September 18th. Bruce, I think it will be Lynch Park, and thank you for checking the schedule and saying we can probably make that work. And I hope everyone can come. and enjoy. So that's a quick summary, but with that, I'd be happy to entertain questions.
Thank you, Mr. Earl. Any questions for Mr. Earl? All right, you know where to find him. You're getting off easy, Paul.
I am. I don't, is that good or bad?
I think it's good. I think it's good.
Okay.
Everybody knows how dedicated the Harbor Management Authority is. Some of the members, like yourself, have been on there for years, and now that things are finally happening, there's a little buzz and some excitement amongst your group, and doing good things. And missing Harbor Fest last year, it's nice to know that it'll be back this year.
Yeah,
And able to have even more people having it at Lynch Park. Good stuff.
absolutely.
All
Okay,
right,
well, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on to our 7:15 public hearing. Ms. Kent, could you please read that order on number 90?
Order number 90, order that the City Council of the City of Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, May 3rd, 2021 at 7:15 PM, remote on Google Meet, live stream on BevCam, relative to the transfer of $18,000 from the Airport Enterprise Fund balance to match a grant from Mass DOT. And this was in the newspaper on April 23rd.
Thank you, Ms. Kent. And I'm guessing that Brian Ailes, our finance director, is here to comment or introduce this one.
I am, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity. Good evening, councilors. I am here with Catherine Barrett, and I believe this, when this was introduced to you all last council meeting, that she may have given a little bit of an overview of the actual grant. It's up at the airport. It's for some cold storage. This is basically the mechanical component of the request. It does take a public hearing to transfer any funds from either the free cash in the case of a general fund transfer, or in this case, where it's an enterprise fund, we would be transferring funds from the enterprise fund balance. And currently, the enterprise fund balance has $476,000 in it. And so this transfer of $18,000 would serve as the match component of the grant that was introduced at last meeting. Happy to answer any questions, and I'm sure Catherine would be more than delighted to discuss the specifics of the grant if you have questions in that regard. Thank you.
Right. Ms. Barrett, anything to add before we go to questions from the city council or members of the public?
Brian did a great job explaining it. This really is the match for the grant. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Questions or comments from members of the city council? Crickets. That's okay. We got a big agenda this evening. And I know our budget analyst, Mr. Jerry Perry, is here, and let's check in with him to see how he feels about this one. Mr. Perry?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, everybody. Pretty simple transfer request from the administration. As Mr. Ailes indicated, there's more than sufficient funds there. This is good public administration, the opportunity to have matching grants to get more money, and I would recommend approving this adoption of the request. And I forwarded a memo to the councilors last Friday on April 30th.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Are there any members of the public that wish to comment on this? Okay, and I notice our airport manager, Miss Gloria Bullion, is not here, so she must feel pretty confident that we're going to put this one through. So I would close our public hearing, and then I would entertain a motion to allow Mr. Ailes to transfer the $18,000 from the Airport Enterprise Fund balance to match grant from Mass DOT Aeronautics Division.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
And a roll call, please, Ms. Kent.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Huntsman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanxi.
Yes. So our next public hearing isn't until 7:30, and I still don't think that we'll get through order number 92 in 10 minutes. So let's do a little bit of our agenda if no one is opposed to doing that. Nods are good. I would entertain a motion to accept the minutes from our meeting that was held on April 20th, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kent?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Bellman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanxi.
Yes. Ms. Kent, are you ready to do some communications from His Honor the Mayor?
Sure.
Okay.
Order number 93, dear Honorable City Council, I am pleased to inform you that the City of Beverly has been awarded a $7,500 grant from the Mass Cultural Council to create an artist in resident pilot program. This project will create an opportunity for an artist in resident program in our downtown Cabot Street area that will include a space for local artists looking to build their audience and/or arts practice. The artist will be selected via a search process with the goal of creating original, unique, produced, or handcrafted artworks and products, performances, art happenings, art interventions, art making, or temporary public art installations. This year's grant focuses on recovery and relief. Accordingly, we will ask the artists to capture elements of Beverly's economic recovery. Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A requires both City Council and Mayor approval before any grant, earmarked donation, or gift to the city can be expended for their prescribed purpose. I therefore request the City Council approve this grant by taking action on this matter at your upcoming meeting. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett, do you want to comment on this one? And then we'll go to the council.
Yes, thank you, President Guanxi. So the city regularly applies to the Massachusetts Cultural Council for many grants, and we applied for this grant last year for $5,000 for the sidewalk poetry program, and this year they increased the amount that you could apply for to $7,500. So our planning director, Darlene Wynn, along with a team of folks, and I think Beverly Main Streets was involved too, Jen Wallace, decided that we'd really love to have an artist in residence. A lot of communities have them in their downtown areas in a space that maybe is underutilized, and it really adds a lot of creativity and artistic value to your downtown. And so that's the goal of this grant, is to open it up and do a search and hopefully select an artist, and that will go. I think there's been some discussion of a couple of spaces on Cabot Street, but no final decision yet. So, Darlene is here. So if she wants to add in a few comments about it or any specifics that anyone may have questions on, Darlene can do that as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Darlene Wynn, our planning director, do you have anything to add to Ms. Barrett's words?
She did a great job describing it. I would just add that we are, now that we have received the grant, there's still a lot of work to do in terms of setting it up and getting this in place. So it doesn't, I don't really think that we have to do a call for artists. So that in itself takes a bit of time. So I'm looking at, ideally July, August, September for a pilot project. And then MAPC has offered to help us kind of work through some of the administrative parts of it, and then transition possibly, or use it as a model to transition to a longer term scenario.
Thank you, Ms. Wynn. We'll go to Councilor Ames first.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just have, just specifically, I wanted to really understand who you were working with on this grant.
The grant is given by the Massachusetts Cultural Council, and it's a specific grant, the Community Cultural District Initiative, which is awarded only to cultural districts.
But who within the city, Ms. Wynn, were you working with? Were you, which individuals to set this all up? Just curiously.
Right now, that was actually the mayor's idea. It's me and Chelsea, and I've had conversations with Montserrat, and I've had conversations with the Cabot Theater about using their space, potentially to house the artist, or at a minimum to house a showing. Or
thank you. So yep. So have you been? What conversations have you had with Main Streets?
Well, Main Streets and the city are co-managers of the cultural district. So I ran this by Jen at one point when we talked initially about what we should go after. And so we discussed that this was one of the options. And she's been supportive of it, but she is not directly involved in writing the grant.
Oh, she wasn't directly involved with writing the grant? Do you think?
Not this one.
Okay. Do you think that maybe some more outdoor public art, or do you think that it's wise to spend all this chunk of money on one project, or is that traditionally how you do things?
Yeah, you usually apply for one project. It's not kind of an open-ended allocation of funds. So it's usually for a specific project that you get awarded. And the outcome might be, a public artist, for lack of a better word, or somebody who wants to create something to share with the public as a temporary installation.
So
but we're still crafting that.
Okay, so you're thinking about some indoor public art rather than outdoor.
No, it could be outdoor. I mean, what we're thinking of really is having an activation of, we were originally thinking of using a vacant commercial space, and that's still an option. I would have to have some negotiations because we'd be looking, for some relief on rent, but it could be potentially something where somebody's interested in having their storefront be adorned with art while they're trying to lease up their space. So as I said, there's a lot of different ways we can handle it, and we're now digging into getting that crafted and figuring out the best way to approach how we can do it. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be indoor or it could be outdoor. A lot of it depends on who responds to the call for artists and what type of artist they are.
Given just that you're looking for some retail space and all, and the role that Main Streets generally takes downtown, my hope is that you'll cycle back to them and really make them a vibrant partner here. Thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor Ames. Go to Councilor Houseman.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Yes, good evening, Ms. Nguyen. Yeah, I'm just curious about the selection and search process. I note in the mayor's letter, the goal references handcrafted artworks, products, performances, art happenings, interventions, art making. That could be visual art. It could be musical art. It could be literary art. It encompasses a broad potential scope of the kind of art and artists that might, that might respond. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what is the vision or goal around what kind of, what the criteria is and what you sort of have in mind about what this art process might result in terms of art, and who would be involved in the selection process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. We're still crafting all of that. That's what I would say. So we are looking at a model of Salem and also an example in Haverhill of artists in residence programs, and using those as examples to start with. So there could be a lot of flexibility. I don't want to really pin down to one type of artist, since I don't know who is going to be available to apply. I have also been working with or consulting unofficially with the Creative Collective, who has been involved in some of these artist in residence projects in Salem and also in Lynn. And so they have an idea of who's available and who's responded to some of these in the region. And so, I think we do need to tighten it up, but we're just getting started on crafting the call. But we do want to turn it around pretty quickly so that we can be specific enough, but not too specific. It's a narrow line, I think. And I will be, kind of running it up by the mayor and by Main Streets and the local cultural council, who are kind of people who I frequently communicate with in terms of art. And also probably, asking if the Creative Collective will just take a look at it on behalf of just as a favor, because they do a lot of work with the creative community on the North Shore. And possibly also the Essex County Community Foundation. Just to kind of get some input.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I think it's a terrific idea. I'm very enthusiastic about the project. I gather, just to follow up on a question Councilor Ames had, this conceptually, no pun intended, this would be for one artist as opposed to the money split between different artists?
That's what I'm thinking about, because I'm really only thinking about it for 3 months, like as a pilot test case. Although I will note that in Haverhill they do 1 a month. But I was thinking for the start, let's try and commit to, and because of the kind of recovery focus of it, I think let's commit to 3 months with one artist, 2 to 3 months, depending on how the funding shakes out. But
yeah, I personally, I find that particularly appealing, to really give scope and some time to really develop something. 1 month is not a whole lot of time.
No.
Given the amount of money and the goal of the project. And finally, so who makes the selection? Is it a jury? Is it a single person? What is the selection process once you get your responses back? And thank you.
Ms. Nguyen, can we hold you on that question because we're into our public hearing at 7:30? So when we return,
Yep.
we'll ask you to answer that question. Then we'll hear from Councilor Rand and Councilor Copeland on this.
Okay.
Order number 93. So Ms. Kent, if you're following along at home, we are at going back to our public hearing scheduled for 7:30 on order number 78. Could you please read that order?
Order number 74. Order that
Yes.
the Council of the
Moses,
City of
yeah,
Beverly hold a public hearing on Monday, May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. remote on Google Meet, live stream on BevCam relative to the Community Preservation Committee 8th round CPA project funding recommendations. And this was in the newspaper on April 23rd.
And everybody should have their communication that we got. Who do we want to talk about this first? I know Heather Richter is here, or we have Brian Ailes, our finance director. Ms. Richter, do you want to give us another little introduction to the projects that you picked?
Sure. Do you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. So we have 4 projects before us tonight, and we have 2 in historic preservation, 1 in community housing, and 1 in rec. And we have had previously, with City Council's help, we had previously approved the group of mural preservation that was part of round 8 out of cycle. And so you know how community preservation works. We have reviewed these over the last several months and found each of these projects to be eligible and suitable for funding. And we thank City Council for their support as usual.
Thank you, Ms. Richter. Mr. Ailes, do you want to comment on these, or are you good?
No, I'm here for any questions you may have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Ailes. Okay. Questions or comments from members of the City Council? Councilor Copeland, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Council President. So just so we got a bunch of information. So just so I'm not looking at the wrong information, can we go over exactly the projects that are involved and what we're looking to accomplish there as far as the funding?
Yeah, I have them right in front of me, and I'll do that. So we have 4 projects in front of us. One is historic Beverly. It's the Cabot House HVAC upgrades. And they've asked for $175,000. And it's CPA funding to support one component of a much larger project. And the Cabot House, for those of you that are watching at home, is 117 Cabot Street. It's where Historic Beverly has their offices and house a lot of wonderful things. And then the next one is the City of Beverly. This is also under the historic category. It's the Dodgers Row Cemetery nomination for listing on the National Register of Historic Places and development of a master plan. That cemetery, I think that most of us found out about it in an article in the Salem Evening News 6 or 8 months ago. So it's nice to see this moving forward. The total project cost is $46,000, and they've asked for $27,000. The Beverly Housing Authority, the Garden City Towers Emergency Elevator Modernization Project. Garden City Towers is 20 Sawyer Road, located across from the old Briscoe School. It falls in the community housing category. They are asking for $237,000 to offset a total project cost of $735,000. And last but certainly not least, the City of Beverly Parks and Recreation, the department, they are working on the Wentworth Drive Tot Lot Improvements Project. I know that the neighborhood is trying to raise funds themselves, but they've asked for $20,000 of from the CPA to offset the costs of a $45,000 project. So the total CPA funding recommendation this round is $459,000, and the total project costs of those projects is $2,098,911. Does that sound right, Ms. Richter?
That sounds fabulous. Thank you. Very well said.
Council Copeland?
All right, perfect. Thank you. And Tot Lot, that sounds like an amazing project right there, if I do say so myself, just to plug that. But also for the city of Beverly, the Dodge Row. So my understanding from the last meeting, once we're able to get something on the list of historic places, that will then qualify us for potentially additional, state and federal funding. Is that correct as well?
It will enable us to apply for, yes. I mean, obviously, grants are not guaranteed, but yes. This cemetery will also act as kind of a roadmap for the other city cemeteries. A lot of our cemeteries are in need of a little TLC, and so this is kind of the first one. It's very historic, and we're excited to see how this whole project moves forward. But this particular grant is for the nomination. It's not for the actual restoration.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Richter, and thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Council Copeland. And knowing that grant money isn't guaranteed when you apply for it, it really helps that we have the amazing Ms. Catherine Barrett as our grant director, who really has done an amazing job over the past, 5 years, 6 years? Been here that long?
It feels like that long, Council President. It's been, I think, 3.5 years.
Right. No, you brought in more money than your predecessors, that's for sure. Let's go to Councilor Rand.
Thank you, President Guanci. I am happy to see some more historic projects on here, and also some that, like Dodges Row, that includes planning. I'm a huge fan of that because it creates at least a roadmap for that project. I'm just curious, and I didn't know if Sue Goganian was on this call, but maybe Chairperson Richter can help with this. I'm wondering, with the project for the Cabot House, if that's, and you might just be refreshing my memory, is that part of a plan for the Cabot House, or is that just kind of, kind of a separate project that isn't connected to phases of improvement? I don't know who can answer that question on this call, but.
I can tell you that the $175,000 requested from CPC is part of a $1,272,911 project. So it's a tiny part of a huge project in which they're really upgrading all the air and ventilation and heating systems and preservation systems for all the artifacts in the Cabot House.
Okay, so that's not across all the houses. That's just for Cabot House then.
Yes, just for Cabot House.
Okay, I will connect with Ms. Goganian just to see. I feel like she's presented a little bit about the phases of that plan before, but I haven't heard much about it recently. So I'd like to know a little bit more. And I do support that plan, this project in general. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rand. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. All the projects look great. Obviously, I have a great love for the CPC. They've always been great with the city, getting projects done that we're not able to do in the regular general budget. But my question is, with the out of round funding that happened and the current funding, what is remaining balance right now in the fund? Mr. Ailes, you may have that answer. Ms. Richter, you may have that one.
Yeah, I've got it right here, Counselor. If these are approved, there will be, looks like a total of 1,064,000, and of which 720 of that remains in the open space reserve.
Is that also including the debt service with the Camp Paradise as well? The number of. Go ahead.
This accounts for all the debt service for this year, but it doesn't account for future payments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rotundo. Anybody else? Any questions or comments from members of the public that have tuned in today? Okay, hearing no further questions or comments, I'll close our public hearing and I will entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes, great stuff. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Ms. Richter, for all your hard work. Please pass our thanks on to your entire committee.
Thank you.
Let's go back and finish order number 93, and then we'll move on to order number 92. So I think we were coming back to Councilor Copeland on order number 93, the Mass Cultural Council grant.
There was a question I was about to answer for Councilor Houseman.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. Not that I don't want to hear from you.
That's
And
okay.
I think
had
Estelle was before me too.
The question was, how are we going to make the decision? We haven't decided, what that's going to look like yet.
And yeah, what's the process and who will be the decision makers? Yeah.
Correct. That's something we have to work out as well. And we will take all this feedback that you guys are giving us back to our decision-making process.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I missed Councilor Rand. Thank you, Councilor Copeland.
Thank you. I just wanted to share my support for this type of grant funding. I'm really excited that the mayor and the planning department and all of the people who are involved in writing grant felt this was an important step to take. And I can tell just by kind of our own questions on the council that we're a community that has a really strong cultural subculture. And I think this is exactly the kind of thing that when you have an artist in residence, that subculture kind of becomes part of the everyday and creates awareness, with political leaders and people who aren't necessarily connected to the arts. So I would love to see maybe kind of like regular updates to the council on this process, just even when we have the artist chosen. Any way that I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I feel like any way that we can engage with the artist in residence and, support that process, but also just enjoy it, would be really meaningful and help to promote the public understanding of why an artist in residence is awesome. So I'm offering my support, and also any way that you would like help from me as a counselor in this process, I am willing to give it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rand. Now to Councilor Copeland.
All right, thank you, Council President. And thank you, Ms. Nguyen, as well. I think this is going to be an exciting and fun project for the city. So thank you for everyone involved that's brought this to the table. And I just want to say that with the theme around this, as far as the recovery from the pandemic, I think there's great opportunity, at any stage of it, from the artists and residents to the theme, to infuse a great deal of diversity, whether it's the artwork itself, whether it's the artist itself. And also, if we look at Beverly and our story from pre-pandemic to where we are now, we still have a lot of work to do, but there's definitely been a great deal of change as far as the leadership and diversity there and so forth, and we continue forward. So I think that with this, however it goes about, there's a, that should be a theme or something that's talked about, because there's a great deal that could be done, I think, there with diversity that I think naturally should be infused into it as well. So thank you, Council President. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Nguyen.
you, Council Copeland. Anybody else on this one? Okay, I would
Council
entertain a motion.
President?
Yes, who's that?
Yeah,
Council Houseman, last word as always.
yeah. I just wanted to underscore what Councilor Rand said about, not only support, but the importance of recognizing arts in Beverly as part of the culture of the city, and bringing greater awareness around it. When you think of, not many cities have the number of theaters that we have. We have a great arts culture, and the more we can, as a council, participate and become informed as this process moves along. I'd love to see that. It's an exciting project, and I would like to be kept in the loop, and agree if there's any way as a counselor I can be engaged in it, participate or support. I'd be happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Houseman. You've been involved in it from the beginning with the community art and things like that. So that's great. I'm sure you'll be a leader. What else? Everybody else good on order number 93? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the grant.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes. Okay, let's go up to, we'll leave communications from His Honor the Mayor. We'll go up to resolutions, order number 92. Ms. Kent, could you please read that letter?
Dear Honorable City Council, in July 2020, the Mass Development and Finance Agency and the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources launched Property Access Clean Energy, PACE of Massachusetts, a mechanism to fund energy improvements on commercial and industrial buildings and multifamily properties with 5 or more units. 41 municipalities across the Commonwealth have since adopted into the PACE program, and the City of Beverly administration requests that the City Council adopt the resolution to extend this opportunity to Beverly businesses. Commercial buildings account for 23.4% of our emissions in Beverly. We believe that the PACE program will help our larger businesses and multifamily residential properties owners make big gains in energy efficiency and install clean energy-based heating and cooling systems, as well as rooftop solar and other improvements helping other communities do our part to limit climate change to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Through PACE Massachusetts, property owners can finance energy efficiency upgrades and renewable energy by agreeing to a Betterment assessment on their properties, which repays the financing. This enables these building owners to implement energy improvements with longer payment periods of up to 20 years using a low-cost financial tool that runs with the property. Representatives from Mass Development, the lead program administrator, have met with City of Beverly staff in the Planning Department, Assessing Office, Finance Department, Solicitor's Office, and Mayor's Office to discuss PACE Massachusetts for Beverly. Mass Development's PACE Program Manager Wendy Lee O'Malley will attend the meeting tonight, meeting to present the PACE program and answer questions. Attached for review and consideration is a 2-page PACE Massachusetts resolution, a presentation from Mass Development, the draft agreement, a case study example of a PACE project in another community. Thank you for your consideration. Please let us know if you have any questions. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Kent. Mayor Cahill, do you have anything to add before we invite Ms. Wendy Lee O'Malley to speak?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask our Sustainability Director, Alina Keefe, to introduce the PACE team. I just want to say thank you all for giving this consideration. We're very excited about the opportunity to bring PACE to Beverly. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill. Ms. Keefe.
Yes, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I'd also like to thank Wendy O'Malley and her team from Mass Development for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you stepping in to give an overview of this program to our council tonight. So Wendy is the Vice President and Program Manager for the PACE program, which we're very excited about, as Mayor Cahill mentioned, as a way to provide accessible financing to businesses for energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. So we will then have a few minutes for Q&A, I'm hoping. But first, I wanted to provide just a little bit of context as to why we're considering PACE in Beverly. We just received the full draft of our Resilient Together Climate Action Plan, which Emily Hutchings and I look forward to briefing you on soon. And in it, we mapped out our path to reaching Beverly's goal of carbon neutrality by mid-century to better understand what we need to do today and in the coming years to cut our greenhouse gas emissions and to remain aligned with our state's decarbonization goals. So we know that buildings account for about half of our greenhouse gas emissions, and commercial buildings, as Ms. Kent read, will account for almost a quarter of our total emissions. So for context, that means we really need to be performing deep energy retrofits on thousands of buildings by 2030 in order to stay on track. So we think the PACE program aligns directly with several of our goals from this climate action plan. I'm going to list 3 from different sections of Resilient Together. The first is that all new buildings and major renovations are designed, constructed, and maintained for resource efficiency, greenhouse gas reduction, and climate resilience. The cities support infrastructure, policies, and regulations that increasingly enable electrification of buildings and transportation infrastructure. And the third, that renewable energy is accessible to all residents and businesses. I will also mention that PACE is listed explicitly as one of the first recommendations of the first goal in the Plan Beverly Master Plan. And we think it can really move the needle in our commercial and our industrial communities in terms of enabling much needed upgrades to heating and cooling systems that don't have a quick and easy return on investment. As well as making investment in solar arrays accessible and attractive. So Wendy and her team are the experts on PACE. They've walked over 40 communities across the Commonwealth through the process of opting into and setting up PACE programs. So they have met, as mentioned, with all of the relevant department heads who are in agreement that the administrative role of the city would not be overly burdensome. So Wendy, please do take it away. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. Ms. O'Malley.
Great, thank you. Can you all hear me? Excellent. I'm going to share my presentation quickly with you and run through the PACE program, if you will bear with me. If you can all see that, hopefully.
Yes, looks good.
Great. So thank you, Arena, for setting the table about the PACE program. Thank you, Council President and Council, for hearing about this new program. Hopefully you're all familiar with Mass Development. We are a state agency that promotes economic development throughout the Commonwealth through our financing and real estate programs. I work in the finance division, and we are the new administrators of the PACE program in Massachusetts, which stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing. And as Arena said, this is a great opportunity to allow commercial industrial property owners access to third-party private financing that will allow them to finance energy improvements, both renewable and energy efficiency, for longer terms. It's unique because of the way it's repaid through a betterment that is voluntarily agreed to by the property owner and collected by the municipality. And because it's a betterment, it offers a variety of benefits that are different from a direct loan, which is what a property owner would typically access for these types of energy financings. It does not increase the debt, or it does not affect the credit profile like a direct loan would. So property owners really see this as a way for them to install these improvements without tying up the capital that they would normally use to finance other priorities for their business.
Here they can increase the energy efficiency or the renewable energy on their building through this program using lenders who have a more secure position because the project improves the cash flow from the energy savings that are projected from the project. Municipalities, as Irina said, benefit because they have these commercial and industrial buildings located in their community, which are the biggest users of energy. And so allowing commercial and industrial property owners access to this funding will allow them then to make those improvements, which will then allow municipalities to meet the goals as Irina described earlier. So this is just a graph really quickly about the Betterment assessment flow of funds and how we envision that this is billed and collected through the municipality. And as you can see, this is really-
President, I apologize, Wendy. I apologize, Mr. President. I think Wendy is showing one slide, but I think she thinks she's showing another right now. We're still on your first slide, Wendy, sorry.
Right. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Has it moved to the next slide?
Right.
Okay,
I have the slides up if you want me to advance them instead.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay,
Sorry about
sure
that.
thing.
Okay, so and just quickly, this is the national market as of the beginning of this year. We've had over $2 billion financed for just over 2,500 projects. And as you can see in the Northeast, we have a large concentration of the properties on the left-hand side of the graph. So this is where we think the largest opportunity is for here in Beverly. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Wendy, so which slide do you want me to be on right now?
Okay, I will stop sharing.
There might be slide numbers. I'm sharing now on the main screen, so
okay.
let me know where to pick up.
I'm back on. Okay, sorry, I can see you. If you will go to the national commercial market.
Okay.
Apologize. So that is just a representation of the type of properties that we think have the biggest opportunity for the property assessed clean energy program, specifically in Beverly and in the Northeast region. We have a lot of these properties in this type of sector. Next, please. Locally, Connecticut and Rhode Island have had PACE programs that have been active and have closed projects already. Connecticut just going on 10 years now, and Rhode Island going on close to 4 years. We all have a little bit of a different way we administer the program according to the statutes that are enabled. So that's what I want to point out here in Massachusetts. Next slide, please. Under our statute, Mass Development is named as the lead program administrator. We are not a third-party administrator like some of the other states. We work with the Department of Energy Resources to create the guidelines under which all these projects are approved. Those guidelines are available on our website at the link you can see there, massdevelopment.com/PACE, along with all the financing agreements and all the other related documents are available for download. We do have a list of the eligible properties here. It's existing buildings under C&I, and what I'd point out is there is a residential component where multifamily 5 units or more are eligible. If it were 4 units or less, that would need to be enabled under a different statute for residential PACE, which is not active here in Massachusetts at this time. Next slide, please. So this is just a list of some of the examples of what a property owner could install using this financing at their property. And what I'd like to point out is what's nice is you can include things that are related to those improvements, such as doors, windows, roofs, things that are really necessary to the building's improvements and usually can be a barrier to a property owner moving forward with an improvement project. Solar panels usually have a payback, but it's the roof that's difficult to finance. And that's usually really the improvement that a property owner is looking to fund. So by being able to wrap that into a PACE project, that allows a big benefit for property owners. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give you 3 examples of, really how a property owner or building could take advantage of this in your community. Here, it's a commercial office building looking to install energy efficiency upgrades, HVAC, new boiler, lighting, paid for from the savings identified under a 20-year term. Next slide, please. Under this example, we have multifamily over 5 units of housing that's older and in need of HVAC heating, cooling improvements. Here, they were able to install that through a PACE financing under a 20-year term. Next slide, please. And this example actually demonstrates how a property owner can use it to refinance a project that had been funded outside of PACE previously, which is particularly relevant, I think, during this pandemic times, where previously property owners may have had capital or funds, and now they need those for access to other things. So here, this is where they were able to refinance a previously installed project using PACE. Next slide, please. So why we're here is because it's a betterment that is used to repay the assessment financing. There is an opt-in requirement where each municipality in Massachusetts has to one time agree by a vote of resolution by the City Council or Board of Selectmen to participate in PACE to allow property owners to apply for financing to mass development. As I said, this is longer term financing, up to 20 years, potentially, that a property owner can access, or the longest useful life of the measures. It has to be positive cash flow. Savings have to pay for the improvements over the term of the investment. That is a requirement. And this is all third-party financing. We're not issuing any state bonds. We're not asking the municipality to loan any funds for this program. The property owner chooses who they want to work with as a lender, and they work with us in terms of facilitating that financing. Next slide, please. And so what makes this work? If there is a mortgage on the property, the mortgage holder must consent to the PACE financing before a project can be approved. Under the PACE statute, the PACE lien is senior to the private mortgage holder lien with consent. We never are senior to the municipal lien. We are never senior to municipality in terms of standing. You remain first and senior in position. We want to emphasize that. But we do come ahead of the private mortgage holder lien, which is a benefit to the property owner when they're seeking this financing. And this financing cannot be accelerated. What that means, and for those of you who aren't in the finance world, is if there's a default, if the property owner does not pay the PACE assessment, it's only the billed and uncollected assessment that the lender, the capital provider, would move to enforce under that default. And that's why this works, because the remaining PACE assessment and lien travel with the property. This is financing we describe as being tied to the property or running with the land, which is different from a direct loan, which a borrower typically accesses for these type of improvements. And as I said, if the property is sold, the assessment and lien travel to new ownership. And if you think about energy savings paying for the improvements over time, this is why this makes sense, because the property owner is using the annual savings, redirecting those savings towards the betterment assessment repayment each year. There is a minimum that we're targeting for project amount size, $250,000 and higher. There is no maximum under the statute. So we want you to know that this isn't a program that applies to every commercial property in Beverly. This is going to seek to target, I think, properties that have energy improvements that are more complex, a little more costly, where the other financing programs in Massachusetts don't fit their needs. So Mass Save, there are other loan programs that fit lower dollar amounts. So we think that this fits for the higher cost projects where there really is a limited option for funding. Next slide, please. And as Irina mentioned, there have been 41 municipalities that have already opted into this already to date, which is great. Most recently, North Andover, Chicopee, Norwood have been added, but as you can see, the city of Boston, Springfield, Gloucester, Somerville, they have all opted into the program already because they see the opportunity to increase the efficiency of renewable energy in their building stock. Next slide, please. And last but not least, I know this is a busy slide that you probably can't see all the type, but this is intended to reflect what a PACE transaction looks like and what the entities involved need to execute in terms of an agreement or an action that they need to undertake. So what I'd like to point out between the municipality and mass development is the municipal assessment agreement, which was described earlier. That describes the billing and collection of the assessment. And we have those already drafted. We do not let the lenders, we don't let the other entities in the program develop the documents. We control those at mass development. So with that, I will end the slide and I will take any questions that the council has at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Malley. A lot of information. Good stuff. Let's go to Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of questions. In regards to the goal of getting to carbon neutrality, do we have a benchmark that we have in mind as a city? I don't know if this would be towards the mayor or to Arena. In regards to property owners, I know there's a minimum amount that has to be invested. So that would kind of negate some of the smaller businesses as opposed to the bigger industries like Cummings or something like that. So do we have some sort of a vision for that?
Counselor, I'll go quickly first. This program here is one opportunity. We know that the private sector existing housing stock in Beverly is largely going to be in need of improvements and upgrades over time. In order for homes to eventually get off gas and oil and onto electric as electric becomes more clean and renewable as the grid does. So I mean, the climate action plan covers all of our city buildings, city waste streams, city transportation fleet and all that, and electrical use. It also includes the whole of the private sector. It's about trying to help support and promote policies at local, state, and federal levels in these directions. And then, for example, with this program, when seeing an opportunity, looking to say that we in Beverly welcome the program in because we know it can help our private sector of a certain type to begin to make those strides. Does that make sense?
It does. I just had one follow-up question with Ms. O'Malley afterwards. In regards to the track record of other states as well as other communities in the state right now that we're seeing, has it been fairly successful? I know it's fairly new still, but have you noticed any pitfalls with some of the businesses? I mean, it seems as if it's a collaboration to encourage the other businesses, the private industry, to follow suit, as the mayor just said, is to kind of give them a helping hand. Have you noticed any, even on a city aspect, as the administrative part, the enforcement, the betterment assessments and things of that nature that may add a little additional work to the city?
In terms of that, really what we've encountered is, what everybody else has in terms of the pandemic and delays and trying to get people to work through some of the issues or the process that the program needs to set up the billing and collection of the assessment. So we're cognizant that, that we need to work with the municipality and set this up in their time frame. So I think that's just been a challenge, to just make sure that we're trying to work in the time frame of the property owners and the lenders, but also be sensitive to the fact that, we also need to work with the municipality on setting this up and just balancing that, making sure that that is all coordinated so everybody feels comfortable that we're moving this along and not rushing anything.
Thank you.
And I might just jump in, Councilor Rotundo, to your first question. You were asking about metrics that we have or any benchmarks that we have. I just opened up our plan here, and we do have almost 11,000 gas and oil heated residential properties and 604 gas and oil heated commercial properties. So the goal would be to get both of those numbers down to zero by mid-century. And so we have targets along the way. So we want to reduce by a couple hundred commercial businesses by 2030 in the next 9 years. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rotundo. Good questions. Councilor Houseman.
Yeah, I have 3 questions. I'll try to keep it concise. So I have some background in commercial finance, and I guess maybe what I would ask Ms. O'Malley is if maybe I could talk with you offline tomorrow, perhaps over the phone, to sort of run through some of the detailed aspects of the financing, so I don't spend time in the weeds this evening trying to sort of walk through how that works. One specific question I would have, though, is if you're open to that for tomorrow, is what is the general openness of commercial lenders to participating in this when they are a junior lien holder behind PACE?
Sure, I can go into more detail tomorrow, but I can tell you that we already have 8, ninth to be added soon, 8 capital providers or lenders that have registered to be on our list. that want to make the public know that they are ready to lend under the PACE program. I can talk to you about the pros of being a senior in a senior position as a lender versus being the mortgage holder and subordinating to the senior lender. It probably is better in an offline discussion because it gets a little bit into the weeds, but I am happy to address that.
That would be great. Perhaps I could probably get your contact information through Irina or the clerk's office. Thank you for that. So the two other questions I have really are sort of policy based, and one is on the state level, one's on the city level. I'll ask the state level first, which is you said that Massachusetts presently they do not have an active program in terms of residential applicability for less than 5 units for multifamily, so a 2-unit or a triple decker or something like that. Is there any movement? Is there any interest? Is there anyone pushing on the state legislative level to try to expand this kind of a program to be more broadly applicable on the residential side, however you want to define what a residence is for this purpose?
I believe there may be some legislation that has been proposed by somebody in either the House or the Senate.
It's not your wheelhouse, so.
Yeah, but I believe there is some effort. It's just not in control of mass development.
Yeah, okay. And then on the city level, so retrofitting is one thing, but we have, all of us on the council know, new growth is a big part of our budget and our budget planning and very important to us. This appears to be a voluntary program, and yet we have really committed ourselves as a city government to making this happen. So I guess I would direct this to Ms. Nguyen and to the mayor. When we have buildings going now and in the future through the permitting process with the planning board, in what way will this program or participation in to the degree it can be required be encouraged or enforced to be participated in by new development? And so there's obviously a tension there, right? We have these goals and yet a developer may not be particularly interested.
Ms. Nguyen, do you want to talk first about planning board, and then I can touch base on the upcoming changes to the building code at the state level?
And then we can also ask Ms. O'Malley to weigh in on the outreach capacity from mass development too.
Ooh, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, I think the mayor was mentioning there are various pieces to the puzzle. And this is one tool, and there are other tools. So for new development, we're looking at ways that we can encourage and incentivize new projects to meet energy and environmental standards with the limitations that we currently have with the planning board review, in terms of what we can do and what we can't do. So a lot of that does tie down to the building code that the mayor wants to talk a little bit more to as well, because the planning board itself cannot supersede the building code.
Right.
Thanks, Ms. Nguyen. We met recently with the team at Beverly Crossing to talk about, what the Canvas project incorporated for energy efficiency, et cetera, and how they're looking ahead at other projects, so we could get a better sense of what we start to try to, as Ms. Nguyen said, incentivize and promote. And one thing, for example, that they did at the 2 buildings at Canvas was for heating and cooling in the units. They've used rooftop air source electric heat pump units as opposed to gas. They haven't used that for everything, but that's I think a very important step and kind of an evolution in how developers of new properties are looking. More and more the electric options are becoming economically viable and even preferable in instances. And the electric grid still uses significant percentage of fossil fuels, but that's part of this whole effort. We're hosting solar at our old landfill, and we're trying to host solar at a bunch of different city sites. And so we're trying to do that on municipal property. Other cities and towns are. A lot of private sites are putting up solar. This PACE program offers it. So as the energy grid starts to get cleaner, then electricity becomes preferable for buildings and transportation. So there's a lot there. We do know that as part of the climate action law that was just passed at the state level, that the state building code will be updated over the next, I think it's about 2 years, I think maybe a year and a half even, but there will be a stretch code option, an opt up to carbon neutral for cities and towns when that is complete. And we'll take a serious look at it. You know, it makes sense to go as far as we can go that's feasible for our, for our developers as well. So we're trying to feel our way and find our way. And I think, Councilor, you asked, great questions on that point. We look forward to working together with you all on it. That's probably enough said for me. Do we have thoughts from the Mass Development team, from
Sure.
Wendy and others?
So I think what I'd add is that I think PACE aligns with the policies that the state continually is putting out there in terms of incentivizing or actually mandating building owners to install energy efficiency or consider renewable energy improvements on their buildings. Because it's a longer term, it takes away, I think, or it allows a property owner to consider improvements with a longer payback that they normally would not consider under alternate scenarios where they usually are doing the quicker payback things like lighting, insulation, but things that are not consuming the energy in the property. So I think this is where, with the longer term, paid from savings, and if you think about things like tax credits that aren't paid out immediately, things that are paid out over time, this is where PACE does allow a property owner to then install a comprehensive list of improvements, which I think align with some of the goals you've talked about and some of the requirements. The other thing I'll add is that, a property owner is supposed to come to the PACE program for financing once they've exhausted all the other incentives and rebates available in the state to buy down the cost of the project. So again, it's really trying to motivate a property owner to move forward with those improvements where they normally wouldn't maybe do such a comprehensive list. And it doesn't preempt any zoning or local laws that you have in Beverly. It really just comes after in terms of the funding.
Yeah, I mean, my interest is particularly, so I think this sounds great in terms of, the available pieces of the puzzle for retrofit, which is extremely important. My question really on the local level really had more to do with new development, because we need new development as part of our budgetary planning, and yet requiring this to happen or being strict with developers on new development is something that I'd like to see in terms of realizing these goals, and yet we don't want to scare people away. So that was really sort of the tension I was trying to tease at a little bit. So thank you for your time and appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Houseman. Councilor Feldman.
Thank you. Yes, a lot of this has been covered in terms of new development and retrofitting, but I was actually wondering is this program exclusive to retrofitting and excludes all new build, or if there was an addition put on or something to an existing structure and part of the addition would be something larger that would require retrofitting for the whole building? Like, are there exclusions in terms of new development, or is it just for retrofitting the existing footprint?
The statute only allows for retrofit of existing buildings, but there is an eligibility for expansion depending on the improvements that are being proposed if they feed the whole building. The new construction would need to be enabled by an amendment to the statute. So that is not allowed currently, but it is my hope, and I think it is the program's hope, that the statute would be expanded to allow new construction at some point in the future, because we obviously know that is a huge part of the energy usage of the building stock here in Massachusetts.
And I would add on to that to please everyone stay tuned for incentives that will soon be made available to new commercial properties through our partnership with National Grid called Community Solutions. And we can share more about that later.
Thank you. Council Feldman, you're good? All right, let's go to Council Flowers.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I may, I just have 3 questions. And I think they're all relatively brief. First of all, just thank you, Ms. O'Malley, for this presentation. It's been really helpful. I definitely learned a lot. One of my questions, the first of my 3, was just, I think Ms. Keefe alluded to this. I just wondered if you could speak a little bit more about this. I'm curious, when a municipality decides to allow PACE or to engage with the PACE process, what does the outreach or public education kind of component look like? I'm just thinking about, businesses or private sector of many different sizes and people who may or may not already be aware of this or have this on their radar. Is there a way that information is shared to make this attractive to people, that they even know that it's happening in their community?
Sure. So Mass Development actually has a North Region team specifically that works with the city of Beverly, not just on PACE, but other programs that we offer. So we do outreach because we are meeting with property owners and developers and other entities related to the program for other things. And then we're mentioning PACE as part of maybe the solution when we're talking to them about what their plans are. So that's one way we do outreach. We also will work with Beverly in terms of creating any marketing that they would like to use. It's a tool in the toolkit. We don't want to force any municipality to market it, but we certainly will help you and assist with you in whatever marketing that you would want to do to promote the program. And then lastly, I'll say that there's a whole world of energy developers and lenders who are already doing PACE outside of Massachusetts. And frankly, we've been kind of late to the game in terms of rolling this out. So they have been really out there working with the property owners already and identifying these projects and trying to move them to application. So I think there's a number of pathways in terms of, promoting this and making this visible for businesses and property owners in Beverly.
Thank you. That's really helpful and is what I was imagining probably was the case, but I appreciate hearing more about that. I think then my other question was, you were speaking about in other states where PACE has already been going along and being utilized more. Do you have a sense, is there any data that shows, percentage of businesses that tend to use this program? Is there any track record that you have, about how many people are taking advantage of this?
So PACE Nation, which is I'll call it the entity that collects the data from all the different states as much as it's available, has collected that just over 2,500 projects have been closed to date for just over $2 billion. That's been reported. The programs just continue to gain popularity in terms of who accesses them and the eligibility for projects. They're trying to expand it for resiliency, new construction. Connecticut originally did not allow new construction, and it was recently introduced there as an eligibility, as addition to Rhode Island. So that's where you're seeing that the evolution of the programs as well to accommodate more building types or more types of improvements also is being used. And shows the success and how the states see the future opportunities.
Thank you. And Mr. President, if I may ask one more question?
Of course.
Thank you. My last question was just, you mentioned in your presentation, Ms. O'Malley, that part of the PACE program is that savings have to pay for the specific improvements. And yes. I was just curious, what is the check on that? Is that something that municipalities then are having to check in on or providing oversight, or is that something that's coming from Mass Development or at the state level?
That's coming from Mass Development and the Department of Energy Resources. The Department of Energy Resources is actually primarily responsible for the technical review of the project. They actually create the methodology under which the energy savings have to be submitted for the application. So, there's a whole process under which the project needs to be calculated, submitted to be approved by DOER. Or the Department of Energy Resources. So that's where I could point you to the guidelines. But for each type of improvement, there is a specific way you have to prove that the savings would occur in the future.
Thank you. I was just curious about sort of checking in if that would become something enforcement that our municipal staff would be responsible for. It sounds like not, which is great. And I appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you. Anybody else? So I'll ask Mayor Cahill. Mayor Cahill, what would you, what is your wish for the council to do? To approve the resolution that was presented to us in our packets?
Absolutely. I mean, that's obviously the request. You know, it's up to you folks as to whether you're comfortable doing so tonight. I mean, you know, we strongly believe in the program and think it's a great opportunity, you know, to make Beverly an eligible community for the PACE program to do business in. And, you know, and again, on your, as to your comfort level and your timetable, I guess I should just turn to Ms. Keefe and Ms. O'Malley in terms of, you know, what happens if it's passed tonight? What happens if the council decides that they need a little more time and look out to their next meeting?
Ms. O'Malley?
Sure. So as Mayor Cahill said, it really is at your choosing. It just makes it available to the property owner sooner. I will say that these aren't projects that are submitted and approved overnight. They're, you know, when a business finds out that this is eligible or they are eligible, they could already have a project being developed and there could be a tight timeline. That's where opting in sooner rather than later could allow a project to be submitted and applied for and seen in Beverly. A lot of times, if you have a property changing hands, where a developer is seeking to make improvements or renovations while the building's unoccupied, usually you don't know about it till they've moved in. They're also seeking PACE before you even know they've bought the building and want to do these type of improvements. I think that's the opportunity you don't want to miss out on in Beverly if you don't approve it tonight and maybe you do it a couple months from now or whenever you decide to, is that there could be a business out there that could have used it right away that couldn't because there is some setup. You know, after the opt-in, we do work with your staff in terms of, you know, actually determining, you know, the billing and collection and how to get that on the tax roll. So, you know, it's really up to you as to how quickly you want to make it available. And we at Mass Development are ready to work with you when you are ready to hopefully opt in.
Thank you, Ms. O'Malley. Ms. Keefe, anything to add?
Yeah, just if anyone else has questions, then I'm happy to kind of compile them if you want to email them to me, and I can work with Ms. O'Malley to respond to the questions and share them back out to the council if you're not ready to move forward tonight. But I leave that up to you.
Thank you, Ms. Keefe. Council Copeland has a question.
Yes, thank you, Council President, and thank you, Ms. Keefe and Ms. O'Malley. So I just wanted to clarify a couple things just to make sure. So as far as to the city, it doesn't seem like it costs the city anything or anything we have to pay for up front, even with the loans themselves that's taken care of through PACE. Am I correct on that?
Correct. We have intentionally structured this so that we really are trying to ask the least amount from the municipality in terms of the PACE. That was intentional. So there is no cost to the city in terms of participating. You know, we're not charging you anything or no. It is the finance, you know, it's the staff, the administrative effort, as I think was previously said.
Okay.
And on that note, just to expand on that, so I think I'd probably be the lead contact from the city in coordinating with Mass Development and in working with the businesses. And then collections would need a point person as well to place the lien and add it to the billing system.
So basically, we just be adding that into the resources that we already have in place, such as yourself, Ms. Keefe, and then the one other person, as you mentioned. All right.
That's correct.
All right, perfect. And other question might go to either you, Ms. Keefe, or also the mayor. So I just wanted to make sure, because I think this is the part I love about this is we spoke before about how to get some of the larger buildings and larger projects involved in sustainability efforts. And I think this would be a step in the right direction towards doing that. I just also wanted to make sure it's part of a larger plan that we'll have in place, because we talked about being able to institute recycling, maybe even composting, some other things that are going to help alleviate some of the pressure off of the city as far as what we have to pay for trash collection and so forth. So I just wanted to make sure, in conjunction with this is just one piece that we're moving forward with in a larger puzzle.
Sure, I'll turn to Ms. Keefe in a second. You know, you rolled a couple things in there together, Councilor. Certainly, when we look at, you know, the building sector, the transportation sector, the waste sector, you know, there are three of the significant areas where greenhouse gas emissions need to be cut. And we need to start making progress soon. You know, in terms of costs for waste disposal and such, that is a separate set of concerns and factors that, you know, that we don't get guarantees that we're going to save money on everything we do here for sure. And I don't want to misunderstand your point in your question, but I just want to make sure I flag that.
Yeah, no, it's not specifically through this program, but I'm just saying this program is a piece of a larger puzzle that we're looking to address, where we are looking to see how we can, on some of the commercial projects, how we can bring things such as, you know, I just talked about, into those projects as well, to save ourselves some money on the back end, as far as trash collection and everything else, to maybe take away some tonnage that we now pay for.
That is a great point. And you know, and as we look to do more food composting, as we look to do better with our own recycling efforts, these things, you know, would and hopefully will remove tonnage from the waste stream, as you said. And you know, we do pay per ton for what we take to the incinerator. At the same time, some of those other pieces do bring costs. So, you know, we're still working through what all that ultimately looks like, and we'll be working with you folks on that as well. I mean, we're in the kind of research and fact gathering stage on a lot of that right now. Ms. Keefe, did you want to add anything about the climate action plan on that point?
Just that we'll come in front of you, I think, in the next few weeks to share where we're at with the plan. We're at a content draft right now. We'll have a public comment period for it in June. So we'd like to share, you know, our current status in mid-May or so that you get a kind of aerial view of all of the different ways we're thinking about sustainability and climate action.
All right, thank you. And overall, I think it's at least a good start towards getting some of the commercial projects to move towards sustainability and the different efforts that we're trying to deploy here in the city. So again, it's not the end all be all. And as Councilor Hausman said, we have to look at as far as the regulations and make sure we move them in that direction. But I think this could be a good piece of the puzzle. So thank you. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hausman.
Yeah, Mr. President, I just I have no doubt that I'm going to end up voting in favor of this. I just wanted to say it's a complicated project, and I would appreciate having, you know, I'm happy to vote on it at our next meeting, but I'd appreciate having some additional time to sort of talk with Ms. O'Malley and sort of plow through it a little bit more. So that's just my own preference. Thank you.
Sounds good. Councilor Flaherty.
I'm comfortable with that, but I guess also comfortable with hearing their presentation, how important it is, especially with so many cities and towns already doing it. I'd be comfortable with voting on tonight. I think it's an important project that we can move forward. And I don't think there's any real reason to delay it. But if Council Hausman wants to get some more information, then it's not going to do any harm. I guess I'll wait one more meeting.
Okay. Anybody else before we decide to take action on this in 2 weeks? Great. Thank you, Ms. O'Malley. Oh, Marina, you're talking again. You're here.
Yeah, so in addition to Councilor Hausman reaching out to Ms. O'Malley directly, if anyone else has follow-up questions, please do email me, and I'm happy to kind of consolidate them all together so that you have the information you need before the next meeting. Thank you.
Great. Great presentation, team. Much appreciated, and we'll take action on this on May 17th. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Okay, where are we now? Did we accept the $7,500 for the Mass Cultural Grant? We did, correct, Ms. Kent?
Yes, we're on order 94.
Let's move on to order number 94. I need glasses.
Order number 94. Dear Honorable City Council, I hereby appoint, subject to your review and recommendation, Ms. Mindy D'Apolito, 20 Adele Avenue, Beverly, to serve on the Human Rights Committee. She will fulfill the term of Abu Topin, who stepped down when he accepted the position of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director of the city. Her term is to be effective until April 4th, 2023. Sincerely yours, Michael P. Cahill, Mayor.
Thank you. Please refer that to the Committee on Legal Affairs. Order 95.
Order number 95 is the City of Beverly Capital Expenditure Plan of 2021.
Before we receive that and place it on file, does Mayor Cahill or Mr. Ailes like to make a comment on that?
I'll defer to Mr. Ailes on that, Mr. President.
That's fine. Brian, are you still with us?
Oh, no.
Oh, let's see, you're in the hot seat.
No, I'm happy to speak. You know, this, as you know, there's a lot to this document, and to trying to update it each year. And we have really for the, you know, there have been evidence and hints of sustainability measures in there, but we really tried to make that a bit more clear with this year's edition of the capital plan. So hopefully you'll see some of that layered in, and I think it's only going to become more and more prominent. The work that we, you know, are going to need to do with our own buildings and other kinds of assets moving forward. But you know, hopefully you'll find it helpful to read through this, and obviously, you know, Mr. Ailes, me, and any other members of our team, please let us know if you have questions and want to talk through things, you know, in any individuals, or if you want to ask some questions back here at a later time.
Thank you, Mayor Cahill. And I know our budget analyst is still here, and he did provide a memo on it. Mr. Perry, do you want to comment on your memo?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. Very quickly, one of the things I got out of this, which I put in the memo, was the debt ratio. If you saw my paragraph, how it dropped to some degree, it was the debt ratio of existing debt as well as potential proposed debt, which dropped. And the bottom line to that is that's really great for the city. A lot of the work done by the mayor's team and certainly Mr. Ailes and the city council with regard to things like refunding we've done over the last several years. We've had a couple of bond rating increases, which helped us. The financial policies helped us. So I think the city has done a really good job with regard to debt. And even though we're going to have a spike in FY22, which we're going to have to deal with, I think it's been softened a little bit. So my compliments to all involved. That kind of leaped out to me more than anything else. So I think a job well done by Mr. Ailes, who's not here, I think, but we'll beat him up on that tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. President.
No, thank you, Mr. Perry. We have somebody who would like to make a comment. I have Councilor Rotundo first.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to make a couple of comments, especially with the memo that was sent to us by Jerry Perry. I don't think we ever really give great credit to the mayor as well as Brian Ailes for refinancing and saving the city millions of dollars the last couple of years since I've been on the council. I can, you know, really applaud the prior council to me being here with the implementation of the policies that allowed us to get the better bond rating. I mean, unfortunately, Mr. Ailes isn't on the call right now, but I just want to recognize the fact that, you know, he has, with the mayor, done a lot of savings to the taxpayers, which we don't always tend to recognize when they come through. We, you know, vote it in, but I just kind of want to just point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rotundo. Councilor Ames is all set. Councilor Rand.
Thank you, President Guanci, and thank you for this document and for your comments on it as well, Mr. Perry. I'm actually I have a very specific question about, and this could be for a future meeting if I don't have to have an answer tonight, but I would love to have conversation around the reasoning why we may or may not consider bonding for road infrastructure improvements. I think at a recent Civic Association meeting, it finally clicked when I described to my constituents at that meeting that who were kind of disgruntled about road work or lack of. I said, well, we put, you know, this administration has put more funding into the roads than the previous administration did for decades, and that's part of the problem. And so I think that's a great start, but it really did, I finally did explain to them that this is the pace that Beverly is moving at. which includes great projects that get put on the state transportation improvement plan, which I commend you, Mayor, for always having a seat at that table and getting our projects on the tip. But the reality is that kind of low level disgruntledness about roads will probably just always be there because this is our pace. So, and to hear Commissioner Collins talk about our pace is, I think it would, I don't know, he has a number like it would take 100 years to repave all the roads in Beverly at this rate. But so I'm not trying to present criticism about how we're managing it, just the idea of maybe having a bigger conversation and maybe some, you know, hearing what you know, Mayor, about how other cities manage their road infrastructure, because I know you're engaged in conversations like that with mayors across the country. So just kind of wanting to know more about the potential of bonding, why it's a bad idea, why it's a good idea, why we choose not to do it that way, and why, you know, more about that, I guess. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm happy if you folks want to put that on a future agenda. You know, I know that we have talked about this one before. It's been a few years. In terms of what we're funding, couple points, if I could. One, you know, we're trying to fund close to $3 million a year of road and sidewalk work. We get about $1 million a year from the state, and that's our gas tax money coming back to us. And then it's how much we can fund in our operating budget. And in a couple of cases in recent years with some amount of free cash. When you look at an asset like a roadway, the question is, you know, a question is, what's the useful life? How long can you bond for if you're looking at something like that? And I'm crossing over into Mr. Perry's area of expertise. And so we certainly can and should, since you want to. I mean, and it's certainly valid in every way to have that conversation. But I'd say with the amount of money we're putting in annually to date, we're probably on about this is very much a projection, but if we could be on a 15 to 20 year rotation of roads, we'd be in a good place. We're not there. So, you know, and as you say, we're doing a lot of good work collectively, and there's a lot, you know, the need is greater for sure. The only other thing I would like to say is it's true that we together have been funding with city appropriations more road and sidewalk work than was done prior to us being in office together. But I will say that Mayor Scanlon and the councils that worked with him went through 2 recessions together and built how many schools? We built the middle school, but they built every other school prior to that. So, you know, a lot of significant needs were being addressed, and it was, you know, it was a case of not being able to do everything to the extent that they wanted to. And, you know, we are very cognizant of that and trying to, you know, do as much as we can together to catch up, because, you know, everybody understood the needs then. It was really, they couldn't do everything at the same time. So, you know, just to kind of remember that a bit historically. Thank you all. Thanks, Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Rand. And remembering those recessions, it was the roads and sidewalks that went first. It's always that public services budget that gets whacked. Councilor Copeland.
Yes, thank you, Council President. And thank you, Mr. Perry, for this. I think I'll be reaching out to you in regards to some different additional information on a few of these. I think some of them are still in the works. So the City Hall refurbishments, the Public Services Building, I think those are things that will be coming to the council as we move forward. Because I don't think there's any specific plans in place for those yet. But for the Beverly Golf and Tennis, Lynch Park Carriage House, I'd like to get more of a detailed, you know, profit and loss type of statement, so I can get a better understanding of what that looks like. Also, if they have any revenue generation plans and their focus and growth in that department. So love to touch base with Mr. Perry in regards to those things. Those resources are more than city focused, and more private resources, almost, you know, run like a business, more say than you would have a park. So I think we have to look at those a little bit differently as far as whatever revenues that they might generate. If that makes sense. Thank you, Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Copeland. Anybody else? Councilor Ames.
Thank you very much. I just was curious if Mr. Toppin had taken a look at this plan or given any input in terms of just these, what the long-term investments we could make as a city just in terms of equity and inclusion. I was just curiously.
Mayor Cahill?
Could you go a little further with it, Councilor? I mean, no, and I think that my question is on the capital side in terms of where we need to make investments. I'm happy to have that conversation and look into it some with you. I'm trying to understand, given the topic, what are we looking at?
Well, I mean, I looked through and I think I'm really happy to see us talking about maintenance, especially, school roofs, the HVAC on the library, some of these things. And I just wonder, just in terms of, are there projects in areas of the city that could make a significant impact in terms of the quality of life for the people in the city who have the least? And I'm not answering that question because it's really for your team and all of us to come together to talk about it. But like, for instance, when we talk about Councilor Copeland's idea of about a youth center, that potentially could be a game changer. And just after the year we've gone through, I'm not saying that we don't need to fix the golf and tennis clubhouse, but just in terms of who that serves, it's a specific community. I'm not even saying that we can't change the community that it serves. I look at golf and tennis and I think a pool there, like one that used to be, could bring a lot of equity to a lot of families that currently don't use it. I could see a community herb garden there. I could see the use of, we don't have enough public spaces for public meetings and using those rooms publicly. I can see the agreement that we use as a community for who can use that space at a reduced rate. So I'm just saying that when you see at the top, rebuilding City Hall, a firing range, and golf and tennis, I was just wondering if you would pass this off down the line, because and trust me, I don't always feel really comfortable saying these things, but given the year we've just had, I do my darndest to try to make sure that I can, in every way possible, represent every single person in this community. And after this pandemic, every single person that's in pain that we can lift up together. So I just, as we move forward, but I think it's a good effort. That's part of the reason why I'm so happy with the CP, with the community preservation funds, because there's an avenue where we as a community can really work together to influence projects large and small. The elevators in Garden City Towers are a phenomenal project, and housing's going to forego maintenance for maybe a couple of years to be able to deal with that. They had $50,000 this year in unexpected emergency, costs. So I just want to make sure that we as a community focus on, just sort of shift our focus to make sure that we move forward together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think those are points well made, Councilor. Let's follow up a bit on that. And one thing you mentioned about the golf and tennis site, you talked about the pool, you talked about gardens, you talked about access to the meeting space. Those are all good things to follow up on with you. One thing that we don't know yet, and we're still waiting for that federal guidance on the ARPA funds. And one thing categorically we were told is eligible is going to be water and sewer upgrades, as well as some broadband upgrades. And so, the intent with that, I believe, and we'll hear more clearly eventually, is, to look at underserved neighborhoods within communities for some of that as well. So, good points, and let's follow up together if we can.
Thank you. I'd be excited to be part of that conversation.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Ames. Mr. Perry, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very quickly, as you all know, I'm always available to all of you at any time to answer your questions. So, Councilor Copeland, you know that by all means reach out. But I wanted to very quickly, I didn't want to leave it laying there. Councilor Rand, you raised a great question about the roads and sidewalks and can we borrow from them? The answer is yes, you can borrow for them. You can legally do that under Chapter 44, Section 7 and 8. I believe it's 15 years, I believe it is. However, there are communities that do that, to answer that question to you. However, what you find when you do it in that capacity, when you start borrowing, you kind of have a major push in the very beginning, if you will, to get a lot done at once, and that causes some capacity problems for Public Works or Commissioner Collins. So they usually have to stretch it out. But the problem is down the road, because when you start paying the bonds and you start paying the interests associated with the bonds, it reduces your capacity to do more roads. So even though we're stretching it out longer, you really, from a fiduciary perspective, get a bigger bang for your buck by paying as you go, as we are now, without borrowing for it, without, it's like basically fixing the roof without taking a mortgage out. So, and by all means, I'm more than happy to answer that, because I know all of you get beaten up by your constituents in this area. I'm fully cognizant of that. And I would say to you, certainly the prioritization, whether we should appropriate more for that is a legitimate question that you should have with the administration. But at the same token, I think the way they approach it is probably the best bang for the buck. Councilor Copeland, if I heard you correctly, the golf and tennis, we have looked at that in the past. I wish Mr. Ailes was still with us, but one of the things we've kind of pretty much discovered, the amount of revenue that's generated from the golf course and the weddings and things of that nature from the building is not going to be enough, we believe, to generate enough financial capacity to do a borrowing there. So if we are to do something there, it's going to be a challenge. Probably some of it will have to come from the general fund as well. And, it's something we've been exploring and researching. And I was also in contact with Councilor Ames. She was questioning me about, is $5 million enough? And I think that's a fair question, given what we know about lumber and steel and things of that nature. Recently, things are even getting more expensive. So bottom line, we have looked at that. It's something that's going to be difficult to get to. I would say to all of you, though, this is a planning tool. This is not, an absolute accurate, this is what it's going to cost us. It's a planning tool. It's really looked at to see what our debt capacity is. And that's why I've opined on that for you, because it's always subject to change. As I articulated to Councilor Ames, last year we thought the turf field would be $800,000 and came in at $750,000. However, last year we thought the HVAC at the library with $300,000. Now we're looking at $1 million. So it changes constantly, and we address that. So hopefully that gives you some quick answers. And at the same time, again, I'm more than happy to talk to any of you to help you at any time moving forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. Councilor Houseman.
I'll be very brief. To Councilor Rand's comment about perhaps we'll always have some frustration over maintenance of our roads and our sidewalks. I've been doing a little research on Central Cemetery and have came across a line which jumped out at me when I read it, and I went to go grab it when I heard this discussion. The mayor of Beverly, the Honorable Freeborn Cressy, in 1897 said in his inaugural address, he said, "There is no item of expenditure in which the public at large is more interested than that which is made for the maintenance and improvement of our public ways." So since 1897, this issue has occupied the attention and the concern of city councilors and mayors since Beverly's been a city. So just thought I would throw that out as a little item of levity for this conversation.
Thank you, Councilor Houseman. All good? I would entertain a motion to receive that document and place it on file.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Mayor Cahill, for submitting at this meeting. Let's go to communications from other city offices and boards.
Order number 96, dear Honorable City Council, due to the conflict on June 21st, 2021 meeting day, I would ask that we change the regular scheduled City Council meeting to Tuesday, June 22nd at 7 p.m. Thank you, Council President Paul Guanci.
I have something I can't get out of that night, so I would like to change it to the 22nd, if everybody is okay with that. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And a roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes. Order 97.
Order 97. Dear Honorable City Council, we hereby submit for your consideration an amendment to Chapter 215, Section 215-12, placing and depositing snow or ice into street or sidewalks. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Kathleen Feldman and Todd Rotundo.
And Councilor Houseman and Councilor Rotundo would like to have a public hearing on that matter. So I would entertain a motion to, what?
Councilor Feldman and Councilor Rotundo.
That's not what I said? What did I say?
Houseman. Houseman.
Houseman.
Houseman, I know, he just, he's always there. That can't help it. Councilor Rotundo and Councilor Feldman would like to have a public hearing on this. So we're going to set that public hearing for Monday, May 17th at 7:30 p.m. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman, Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes. Councilor Rand, you typed in the chat. I'm sorry, I missed it.
That's okay. I was ahead of why I was typing in the chat anyway. I need to recuse myself for the next order.
Okay.
Okay.
You're recused. Communications, applications, and petitions.
Order number 98, the communications from the Beverly Farmers Market, and Addie is here tonight to answer any questions.
Hi, yes, how are
Hi.
you?
How are you?
Doing great, thank you. I wrote just a little thing to kind of introduce the application, just in case anyone hadn't had a chance to read my letter. But I'm just basically here representing the Beverly Local Food Collaborative. We are nearly incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit, and we are housing the Beverly Farmers Market. So we are requesting permission from the City Council to operate for our 13th season. If approved, we would run from June 7th through October 4th on Mondays between 3 and 7 p.m. We are working collaboratively with the Beverly Police Department, the Board of Health, and under the guidelines provided for us by MDAR and the Federation of Massachusetts Farmers Markets. We believe that the market's role is to provide equitable access to sustainably grown local produce. So we will therefore continue to accept SNAP and HIP, WIC, and senior coupons at the market. This year we have received over 60 applications, and out of that pool we have accepted 15 agricultural vendors, 16 Beverly-based businesses, and our youngest vendor this year is actually only 11 years old. He has a business called Aqua Kitten, so I highly recommend stopping by the market to check him out. He's very excited. And then the last little piece for us is that we're hoping to get permission for Far From the Tree Cidery. They're a Salem business. They are trying to operate at the market this year. They have requested permission from the licensing board, but as that they would be vending alcohol on city property, I felt that it was important to bring that to you and just make sure that was okay. Yeah, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have about our operation.
Great, thank you, Ms. Schreffler.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Get Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Annie, with the construction starting on the project right next to Veterans Park, what do you have for considerations in regards to blocking off traffic? Obviously, the footprint's been considerably minimized now with the fence being up. What considerations are you looking to do? I know you put a plan in place. I don't know if you need modification to the approval of your plan.
I don't think so. We've met with the construction group and have worked out a plan with them and with the police department, just making sure that it was all okay. They're going to be keeping their all of their equipment behind that fence and then parking all of their vehicles in the municipal parking area so that that street is clear for our vendors starting at noon on Mondays. So we should be good to go without having any issues with traffic there, and proceeding with the plan that we've used in the past.
How about safety issues with the heavy construction? Has that been put into consideration?
Yes, we've addressed that as well. They're not going to be doing any construction after noon on Mondays, so we're not worried about having any, people near heavy construction happening, during the market time. But if there's anything else that you'd like us to look into, I'd be happy to consider that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Ames.
Just real quickly, a couple of weekends ago, I actually ran into Councilor Flaherty. I spent Sunday afternoon talking to people about composting. And one of the biggest concerns was for people who live in apartments or don't have ready access to composting, having a community compost site. And so I was just I was just wondering if, as a community, if the city might be able to consider the farmers market as a location, perhaps, because you could have a truck, it could come in, it could go out. I have no real skin in this game, but it just seemed to me like a pretty good, equitable fit. Thank you.
That's a great idea. As we move forward becoming an actual nonprofit, one of our main goals is to create connections with other people that are doing work in the sustainable food and access area. So I think that would be a really good idea for us to look into, trying to create a resource for people that way. Thank you for telling me that.
Thank you, Councilor Ames. Mayor Cahill.
Thanks, Mr. President. I was just listening and enjoying, and Ms. Schreffler, thank you for your presentation and for your work. Councilor Ames, I just want to say, I first looked to see if Ms. Keefe was still with us, and she was up until a couple minutes ago. She and I just talked earlier today about a community compost site. We've talked about it a few times, and she went and did some research about it. And, Salem has started one over at Mack Park. So based on all the work she's done on it in our conversation earlier today, she's now exploring where we might be able to offer one or two sites, and we'll stay in touch with you all on it, but there looks like a good chance we'll be able to begin to offer that this year.
Awesome.
Thank you for jumping in on that, Mayor.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for bringing it up, Councilor Ames, and thanks, Mr. President.
Anybody else? Councilor Copeland.
Yes, thank you, Council President. And I just wanted to see from the city, maybe the mayor might know this. It was brought up that one of the vendors might be providing alcohol at the location. So is there any special licenses or anything different that needs to be done in order to go forward with that? Because I don't know if we'll be able to do that on our own or how that works.
Well, so from what I understand, they've already applied for a special license from the licensing board in Beverly. I was just mostly bringing it up to you because the market operates on city property. So as long as everyone was comfortable with that and knew that they were applying for that special license, if that does work for them, I just wanted to make sure that all of our boxes were checked. And they wouldn't be providing it, to drink right in the park. It's all to go and everything like that. So.
All right, perfect. So, and that means they wouldn't even be able to do it until they got the authorization to move forward to do it, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right, perfect. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the farmer's market request to use city property to hold the farmer's market this year.
So moved.
Second.
Second,
And a roll call, Ms. Kent?
Ames,
yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Spellman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes. Order number, and somebody please invite Councilor Rand back, send her a text maybe. Thank you, Councilor Flowers. Order number 99.
Order number 99 is a request of National Grid for a petition for Sawyer Road, Plan 293-50047.
I would entertain a motion to set a public hearing for that request for Monday, May 17th at 7:15 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes.
Order number 100. Communication from South Essex Sewage District. It's the FY 2022 budget, and the packet is in my office for anybody who, if they want to look at it.
Yeah, and they're very, very thorough. I mean, they send us a draft budget a month before they send the final one in. And if any members of the public wish to view it, it is in the city clerk's office. Any comments from members of the council on that? Or if not, I will entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, Ms. Kent?
Haynes,
yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yeah. Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes. Ms. Kent?
Order number 101. Communication from the city clerk's office, a renewal secondhand dealers junk deal license for 2021, and they're all renewals.
I would entertain a motion to approve Ms. Kent's request.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes.
Order number 102. Communication from the city clerk, renewal for pawnbroker's license for Nyan Group, DBA Cash Point at 135 Cabot Street.
And this is a renewal, and it's been signed off by the police department, correct, Ms. Kent?
Correct.
Does anybody have any questions or comments on this one? They've been around quite a while. I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes.
Order number 103. Communications from the city clerk for a renewal for petroleum storage registrations for 2021. And then they're all renewals, not
Renewals.
anything.
Any questions from anybody on the council? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve Ms. Kent's request.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanxi.
Yes.
Order number 104, communication from the city clerk. Renewal for ice cream truck vendor Stephen Wright from 116 Collins Street in Danvers. And the police chief did sign off on this, and this is also a renewal. He usually comes in each year.
Thank you, Ms. Kent. Any questions from members of the council? Seeing nobody's name, I am going to entertain a motion to approve Ms. Kent's request.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanxi.
Yes. I would entertain a motion to accept the late file from the city clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanxi.
Yes, late file accepted. Now on to the late file, Ms. Kent.
Communication from the city clerk, temporary hawkers and peddlers license to peddle flowers on Mother's Day. And it's somebody who's been around for a long time and who usually comes in each year. John Badiz,
Please, yeah. And it's been signed off by the,
by the chief.
it has. Any,
It has.
yeah, any questions or comments from members of the council? I would entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanxi.
Yes. Motions and orders.
Order number 78, be it obtained by the City Council of the City of Beverly as follows. In the year 2021, an ordinance amending an ordinance relative to Chapter 270, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 270-49, off-street parking, handicap parking, amending Section 270-49 as follows. Add a handicap sign to be placed on 39 Front Street. And tonight is the final passage, so we ask for your approval.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the ordinance change.
So moved.
Second.
And a
Second.
roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanxi.
Yes. Councilor Rand, constituent work at its finest. Thank you for taking care of that. Let's go to reports from committees. Oh, Councilor Rand wants typed in. I'm sorry. Councilor Rand.
Thank you. I actually was just going to seize the opportunity to let Commissioner Collins know that the bushes that were kind of overgrowing the sidewalk at Front Street, which were impeding the, putting the signage in, have been cut back. So I can send that in an email though, I don't expect you to necessarily remember it. Thank you. I just saw you and I thought, oh, good, perfect. Okay, thanks.
He won't forget, but I would remind him anyway. So,
Yeah, you're right.
okay, thank you. Now we're back to reports from committees.
Reports from Legal Affairs, the communication from the city clerk, application for a new fortune teller's license for Laura Nestor of the Salem Witch Supply. And Laura has actually been on the meeting since we started.
I know, Laura. Good for you. Do you have anything to say, Miss Nestor?
I guess I was just wondering if you guys had any questions for me. I know it's kind of an odd request. From what I gathered, you probably don't get too many of them.
No, I think we only have a license for one in the city.
Really?
Oh, two, I'm sorry, Miss Kent. It used to be one, so we've gone above and beyond. Any questions for Miss Nestor? Nobody wants to know whether they're gonna win the lottery or anything like that. I'm sorry, I have to do it.
You know, if I could do that, I would have won it so long ago.
I
That
know,
would
right?
be fabulous.
All right. In your studios, we're on Rantoul Street?
No, actually, currently my business is online.
Okay.
I have a drop shipping program. I used to work in Salem, and I actually left my position in Salem because my children have been going to school remotely. I live
Yeah.
here in Beverly, and so my license is for my business is here in Beverly. And it was a way to just basically keep working through this whole pandemic.
Good for you. Anything else from anybody? Then I would entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes, and Miss Nestor, thanks for hanging with us tonight and good luck. I hope
Thank
all
you.
goes well.
Thank you very
And-
much.
You can pick up your license anytime tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Communications from Committee of the Whole, Public Services. Order number 85. Human Resource Director Pauline Texera. Reappointment.
That is an appointment. Any questions or comments from members of the council on Ms. Teixeira's appointment? Hearing no questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to. Oh, you are there. Okay.
She's here.
Councilor Ames.
Hey, thanks. I just wanted to get a sense. We have these 4 reappointments today, and we haven't been together for a year plus. And so and I'm a new counselor, Counselor Copeland even newer. And so I was just hoping that you might just take a few minutes and talk about, what your biggest accomplishment was the past year or so, any future goals, and, how we can help, and anything, that we can help you do better with the residents. That's pretty much all and for all 4 of you, that's all I wanted to know, just so that we ourselves could reconnect a little, and that also the people out there at home could also get a sense of just a little more of the nuts and bolts of government. So thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Ames. I know Ms. Teixeira is here. Pauline, do you want to say a few things? Oh, there you are.
Sure. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me. Just for the people who don't know, I'm Pauline Texera. I'm the Human Resources Director for the City of Beverly. And I've been with the city for 23 years. I actually was looking in payroll today, and this is my 17th anniversary for being the director today. So our department consists of a human resources administrator, Jen Smith, HR assistant, Mary Sullivan. For the past year, of course, it's just all been related to COVID-19 and the pandemic. We had to learn about COVID-19. We had to learn about the safety standards in buildings with employment. We had to teach our employees, train them on social distancing, hygiene protocols. We had the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, which was emergency paid leave for employees and emergency paid family leave for employees. So we had to educate them on what that policy was, how to apply for it, and then approve it and process it through the payroll. Worked with department heads in the health department on COVID-related issues regarding employees who may have been deemed a close contact or had to quarantine or isolate. Let's see, we had to actually last May, every May we have our benefits fair at the senior center. And that's for all employees and retirees to learn the changes in our benefits, what new benefits we may be offering. And so, of course, we couldn't have that benefits fair at the senior center last May, so we had to quickly get all of our information available to all employees and retirees remotely. So we, and Jen Smith in my office, loaded up our webpage with information, all the information we could. We sent our typical letter that we send to our retirees about the benefits fair and where they could get all the information. That worked out very well. We actually also had to add lots of forms and all kinds of documents that employees or departments would need from us. They're on our webpage now. And our retirees actually love going to the benefits fair, and we love to see them. It's a time for them to reconnect with people they used to work with and to connect with us. And they couldn't go to the benefits fair last year. They can't go this year. We can't have it again this year. So Jen in my department created this postcard, which I don't know if you could see, but she created this postcard that we sent out to retirees, all of our retirees. We have about 900 last week. And it says, just a reminder, you are appreciated. Thank you for your patience and cooperation over the past year. Things may not be completely back to normal yet, but our goal is to make sure you have all the information you need when it comes to your health and wellness benefits. City of Beverly Human Resources Office. And then on the back, she writes about our open enrollment being May 1st to the 31st, how they can get to the Human Resources webpage, and she put a QR code here for them to get directly to our page, and that they'll receive a letter from us soon about the changes in the benefits. So that was something exciting that we did this year for our retirees. And we also now on our webpage, retirees can click a link to fill out a form to receive regular emails from us for any communications that we can get to them, newsletters, whatever we can get to them. And that's just another additional way to be connected to our retirees. And what were your other questions?
Plans, refresh?
Just basically, you know, if you had some goals moving forward and if there was anything that we could do here as a council to support you in those goals.
Oh, thank you. Well, for some of the goals and that what I'm working on now, especially with Abu Toppin, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Director, is trying to do a better job at hiring diverse employees, so more diverse employees. So what we're working together, and we're posting jobs at different places now, additional places. Maybe it's diversity.com or we have a list of places. We're working with Handshake. I don't know if you're familiar with Handshake, but that's a format where we can reach out to all colleges and universities to get to students and alumni. We are working with the school department, and we're going to have a virtual career fair together. So that's exciting. We're working on that now. And I'm not sure about supporting me, but I know that we will need more money in our budget for advertising because we are posting in all these different places. And while I have you, I'd like to invite you to come to our department anytime if you have any questions or would like to see what we do. It's, you know, it's lousy that we have, you know, we can't have people here. That's the one thing that the HR department can't do right now is our employee relations events. And with that, we've done, we've had the Halloween events out front every year during Halloween where our employees we pick a theme, our employees dress up, and we all donate candy. And we get about 80 bags of candy and we hand that out. We have door decorating contests where we decorate our doors in City Hall. I don't know if you've seen them in the past. We can't do that. So that's the one thing that we can't do that I would like to do. But the employees during this whole year, not seeing them all the time or consistently, we just can't get there right now. But they have been, I have to say that the City of Beverly employees have just gone above and beyond with dealing with this pandemic and getting the job done and getting it done just the same way that they would or even better. I mean, I have such support from my coworkers, the mayor, and my team. They've done such a great job. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Pauline. Anybody else have any questions for Ms. Texiera? I know Ms. Kent would like to make a little statement. Ms. Kent?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to Pauline and her team, because as a city clerk for the first year, I've been up into her office probably every other day, or at least called her during COVID, and she's gotten me through nicely so I don't get myself in trouble for anything. So I thank you, and I thank Jen and Mary too, because they are always there for me and for our office. That's all.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Ames?
Yes.
Copeland?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes.
Flaherty?
Yes.
Flowers?
Yes.
Postman?
Yes.
Rand?
Yes.
Rotundo?
Yes.
And Quancy.
Yes.
Order number 86 is a reappointment for Director of Municipal Inspection, Building Commissioner Stephen Frederickson.
And Mr. Frederickson is here.
I am here.
All right, you want to just do a little spiel like Ms. Texiera did? Thank you, Councilor Ames, for starting this off.
No, thanks for inviting me. It's a good opportunity. For those who haven't met me, my name's Steve Frederickson. I'm the Director of Municipal Inspections. I've been here about 14 years now. I can't believe it. Seems like yesterday. This has been a very challenging year, needless to say, particularly with what we do, having to go into people's homes on a daily basis during a pandemic. So we've really had to get creative and flexible. So a lot of the things we've done involve remote permit applications, which luckily we've had a permit program called View Permit in place for quite a few years, and that allows for online applications. It allows for building inspectors to review permits online and approve permits online and issue permits online. And for people who don't have that capability, we've again had to be flexible by allowing them to print out the permit and mail it in, or hand carry it in and drop it off in a mailbox. As far as doing the inspections, that's really where we've had to get the most creative. Some of the inspections are not an issue. They're, excavation inspections, foundation inspections, roofing and siding and decks, things like that. We don't have to go into a person's home to inspect those, so that hasn't been an issue. But inspections where we have to go in for a kitchen remodel, for example, we've been able to allow the contractors to provide us with photographs, or some of our inspectors actually use FaceTime and have the contractor walk them through the house virtually. So we've been able to really, through our view permitting program and through technology, really, we haven't missed a beat. We do miss the face-to-face, I think, and I think the public does. We're opening things up a little bit now where people can come to the counter, but only by appointment, so that we don't have 5 or 6 people coming to the counter at the same time. But hopefully eventually we'll be able to loosen up there too. So, as far as future goals, I mentioned our software program, View Permit. We're currently in the process of changing over completely to a new product called Central Square, and we're actually going live this Wednesday. So if the city is dark for a day or two, that's why. Hopefully it goes smoothly, but I'm sure there'll be a few glitches. And also, you're talking about energy goals earlier, and I happen to sit on the State Board of Building Regulations, and we're the ones who actually develop the building codes. And as the mayor mentioned, it's about a year and a half away. They're shooting for January 2023, so I guess it's actually a year and maybe 8 months away from having a stretch code that's a net zero energy code. We don't know what that'll look like yet. It's still being written, but that's where we're moving. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a reality in the next code edition. And it's really just up to the city to adopt it or not. We have adopted the stretch energy code in the past, and we do utilize it. And I don't see that changing unless the code is so onerous that people get afraid when they see it. But I can't see that happening. So that's it for the future. I don't know if you have any questions for me.
Yeah, any questions for Mr. Frederickson? All right, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the appointments.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Huston,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Order number 87 from Public Services, communication from the mayor, reappointment director of engineering, commissioner of public services and public works, Michael Collins, a reappointment.
And Mr. Collins is here. Always good to see your name pop up and your face. How are you, Michael?
Excellent. How are you, President?
Very good, thank you.
So, Michael Collins, Commissioner of Public Services and Engineering. I guess I've been here more than 20 years now. And I was across the river for 7 or 8 years before that. So one of these days I'll get it right. And the Public Works Department at Beverly, I think, is unique compared to most public works departments in my experience, where when you say public works, it's easy to see, plowing snow and filling potholes and sweeping streets. Maybe the water department's associated with it. But it's very, very rare for a public works department to have the breadth and the depth that our department has, where this city, everywhere where an employee gets dirty performing maintenance tasks, those employees work for the Public Works Department. So that includes maintaining the buildings, the streetlights, the cemeteries, the beaches, the parks, the water, the sewer, the trees, the drains, fire alarm system, anything you can imagine. So that's what I'm used to here. I can't imagine it being any other way. I don't know how the other cities do it. It's, it can't be as efficient as it is here. That was our goal. The department has grown from the 5 divisions when I was initially hired to 9 divisions as we sit today. Those were all functions that existed in the city before, but they were sort of scattered around under different purviews. So we've been able to consolidate, and which has brought really a much greater level of efficiency to the overall operation. So we're not competing for the same sort of even tools, literally. Some of the divisions would compete for same tools and technology, and a lot more collaboration. And I think we're also a department that is known for, because of the skill of the employees that we hire, we're very careful to hire employees who come to the table with skills in hand. When we need an electrician, we hire an electrician. We need a carpenter, we hire somebody that's been building houses for 20 years. Our forest and grounds department, they all came from industry. They were all leaders in their industry when they came here. which is evident in when you take a look at the parks in the city of Beverly. The public spaces, they're second to none, really. I mean, they're exceptionally well maintained and maintained in the most responsible manner. So it really pays dividends to hire good people. And I'm very fortunate to work with such a group of good people. And when you have such a diverse and skilled staff, you can do things like the Cabot Street project, which I know is painful for the businesses, but you really, if you look at the task, it was on the heels of a $25 million rebuild of Route 1A. We got a $400,000 grant. Said, geez, maybe we could do that on Cabot Street with $400,000. So that led us to stretching those dollars by doing almost all of the work in-house, all the electrical work, the underground conduit for the street lighting, the drainage work. And all of the project management through the engineering team was integral through the project. So a project like that really showcases the talent of the department. You're not going to go into any other city or town and see the Public Works Department engaged at the level that we were engaged in a project like that. They're going to hire an engineering firm. And see how it goes. So we're really lucky in Beverly to have such a diverse and talented staff. I'm lucky to be a part of that staff and work with so many excellent people. And that we were talking about it the other day, and it's not just to give a shout out to the rest of the city employees. When you look around, and if you took the number of staff members in the city of Beverly per 1,000 residents or some metric like that, and compared it to any other city or town around here, you're going to find that our workforce is extremely lean, and that's across the board. There are very few people. And when I talk to other cities, and you go around the room, especially with these Zoom meetings, which are so prevalent, and you get introduced to the staff in other cities, they've got whole divisions of people that I'm like, what is that? What do you do? It's entertaining to see how other departments work. So lean and mean, I guess it is here. Keep in mind that I guess all of that work that we did last year was done under the veil of COVID. And, we didn't have direct patient contact like police, fire, and EMS did. So that's I can't compare to that, but we have a department that can't work from home. In most of our job, can't social distance because, it's a physical job. So, if you remember back to the early days when we thought COVID was radiation, it was insane what we thought it was. As bad as it was, we thought it was a lot worse. There were many months when I wasn't allowed to associate with my own house members, and I was exiled to one room in the house. It's just a precaution we all took. But the Public Works Department came to work every day, and we still cut the grass and still deliver the water and fix the sewer backups, and they did great work, and it certainly made life a lot more difficult and a lot scarier in the beginning. Now it's easy. Most people have vaccines, and I know, and a certain level of comfort with the whole situation. But it was a trying time. But nobody. I mean, it was amazing. There was no hesitancy whatsoever. We had, a couple of people that we proactively sort of looked after and sheltered them a little bit more than others because of, some things we know about their history. But in general, everybody came to work eager and just went about their business. And I'm so very proud of that. But I'm also very much looking forward to the end of all of this pandemic and getting back to actually seeing people and shaking hands. It's kind of bizarre. I'm an engineer, so as the old joke goes, what's the difference between an introverted engineer and an extroverted engineer? The extrovert looks at your shoes when he's talking to you. So having said that, getting back human contact and getting back out there in the real world would be really a joy. So it's really been a pleasure to be part of the team, and looking forward to keeping doing it for a few years.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. And I know that the minute I saw the Cabot Street was done weeks earlier than we all expected it to be done, I had to call you right away and say, hey, listen, what a great job. And I know that you passed that along to your entire team, because that's how you've always been, your team player. And I see Mayor Cahill's raising his hand, and I see him in the chat. Mayor Cahill.
Thanks, Mr. President. I don't want to extend this, but I do want to ask Commissioner Collins just to touch ever so briefly on all the work that our schools have done. Amazing work this past year, and the Public Services Department, not least of which Commissioner Collins, have done amazing work with the schools. Could you just touch on it briefly?
Yeah, the custodial staff is another. I mean, as I described to them, they're the tip of the spear. Again, they never questioned whether or not they had to come to work. It wasn't a question that they were going to come to the schools every day, and they are going to be the ones that kept the students and staff safe. We started out by, sterilizing the ceiling tiles practically in the schools, but but we were also hyper focused on ventilation. We knew intuitively, before it was well known, we knew intuitively that the ventilation was going to be critical. Fortunately, we have a long history of taking good care of our buildings. It was an unbelievable amount of work. And again, the custodial staff never questioned for a minute that, they of course were going to come to work, and they were going to be the ones that kept the teachers and the students safe. And, not only did they clean, they played musical chairs, with reconfiguring classrooms, working with the teachers, and the teachers would come in, they reconfigure classrooms, trying to figure out how could we get the kids back into the classrooms, moving furniture out, moving furniture back, 10 kids in the room, 15 kids in the room, 20 kids in the room, how does it look this way, 6 foot this way, 4.5 feet, 3 feet, just every iteration you can imagine. And then as things got better and eased up, moving more furniture back in, trying to figure out how to do lunches. It's been amazing how much work that's taken, and credit to the teachers who stepped up and came to work every day as well. Fortunately, looking back over a year of it, I guess we were never criticized or questioned. So, I really appreciate the fact that we were given that level of trust, and I think we earned it in the schools, and the staff there were, they knew that they were doing their job because they could see it. They could see them out there, and they'd come into the classroom and something would be different, and things that they didn't even know were there were suddenly, being torn apart and cleaned, and so that was a 7-day-a-week job from March until the kids came back. It was really, that didn't stop in September, but it was literally a 7-day-a-week job that we were in the schools, making sure everything worked exactly as it should be, upgrading a couple of the schools significantly to bring them on par with the rest of the schools before the winter closed in. Really crunch time deadlines. The stakes were so high. There's a lot of ways that in this line of work where people frankly can die in public works. To make sure that doesn't happen. And this was a case where a lot of people did die from COVID. And, we recognized that the stakes were incredibly high with that. And credit to the staff where they all took it seriously and did their job and did it exceptionally well.
Thank you, Commissioner. All good, Mayor Cahill? Any other questions from members of the City Council or comments?
What did the Beatles say? Did we pass the interview?
So I think you're going to make it through. I would entertain a motion to approve the reappointment.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Larry,
Absolutely.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes.
Can I also say something?
Of course, Ms. Kent.
Public services are always really kind to our office. Mike Collins came in my office one day and I asked him for something. The next day, somebody was measuring for what I needed. And Christine and I could never have gotten through the election without them. Mike Bouchard and his crew did so much for us that we couldn't thank them enough. And it was all during COVID. It was all during that little election we had last year. And they were just there for us 100%. And we can't thank you guys enough for that.
Thank
That's
you.
all.
Glad to help. And the Beatles passed the audition, not the interview. Sorry.
You know, people forget that you're really a funny guy because you're always serious. All right. Thank you, Mr. Collins. We'll see you soon. Ms.
Thanks.
Kent?
Order number 88 is communication from the mayor, reappointment for Parks and Recreation, Bruce Doig.
Mr. Everything Beverly is here. Mr. Doig?
Well, thank you all very much. First of all, I can't go, pass on the opportunity to thank Michael and his staff for everything they do for me. You can look over my shoulder in this picture. Lynch Park continues to be the jewel of the North Shore, and every park in Beverly is in amazing shape. You go around to the North Shore and other locations, and none of the fields are in as good a shape as they are here. None of the parks are as good a shape as they are here. His guys don't quit until the job is done, and they do an amazing job. So I always have to put in the pubs for them. But thank you very much, Mike and his staff. I've been working for the city for 18 years. My anniversary was March 30th. In the first 11 years, I was the recreation director. For the last 7 or so years, Mary Cahill has appointed me to be the community services director, or Parks, Recreation, and Community Services director. And so now working with the folks from the health department, the library, the senior center, and veteran services, in addition to the recreation, has been a great opportunity, and I've loved every minute of it. Again, we have great directors in each of those positions, and so they've made my job very easy, but I love overseeing what they're doing and getting involved in issues as they come up and so forth. I'll have to say that, the last year obviously has been very tough for everybody. I think the thing we're most proud of in the last year certainly is the fact that we were able to run our parks and camp programs. And that was right in the heart of things. When I remember sitting right here in last May and June, speaking with the mayor and other folks about whether we could do it. And I had my doubts, but again, we have great staff at the rec department. John Padall, our new assistant director. John started a week before COVID shut everything down and did an amazing job getting us through that with our park and camp program. Gail Carmody has worked for us for 52 years. I have to say that as often as I can. She came to work for the rec department right out of high school and has never left. So 1969 to today. So Gene Belanger has been with us for over 35 years. Val Ramo's been with us for a couple of years, but has done an amazing job as our facilities coordinator. We're a small group, but I think we get a lot done. We hire over 80 kids each summer between our staff and our CITs. We've had as many as 45 to 50 counselors in training every year on top of our camp staff, park staff, and rangers and so forth. And again, we're very blessed that these kids come in. They're amazing kids, and I think we're able to get the best every year. So that's what we're most proud of from last year. We spent a lot of time a week and a half ago talking about the CPC and a joint meeting with you folks. And, you heard about a lot of the projects that we've done over the years. We've been able to rebuild or add new playgrounds at 28 different locations around the city. We've done 17 CPC projects in the last, however many years now, 6 years, 6 or 7 years. And we're working on doing more. So, we're willing to work with any neighborhood in the city to find out what their needs are, work with them to get things done. In terms of goals, there's a lot of them, as we talked about a little bit at the CPC meeting as well. But, our courts, we're going to be putting in for a state grant to get funding to repair the most critical tennis courts and basketball courts in the city. We're going to be requesting some more CPC funds for that as well. But, there's a lot of expense needed there, or a lot of funding needed there, but we're going to do the best we can to make it happen so that we can repair not only the most critical courts in the city, but all of the courts that need some tender loving care as well. Our fields, as I said, are in amazing shape. Mike's guys have done an amazing job over the years, I should say. But, there's other needs as well. Water fountains in the parks, benches, tables, things like that. We're looking at Holcroft Park and how we can add amenities and things there. I was down there, again, a week or two ago with the cleanup day with Councilor Ames and looking at what we can do. And, I tossed out some ideas. She had some great ideas in terms of having terraced gardens and things like that. It's a great resource for the city, a great resource for that neighborhood. And there's a lot we can do. Again, a lot of it just comes down to funding. So can we get more CPC funding? Can we get other grants and, support from the businesses and the neighbors? So, again, I'm willing to work with anybody, anywhere in the city and make things happen. I've lived here my whole life. And, it's been an absolute pleasure and blessing for me to work in this city for the last 18 years and 8 years prior to that as the Recreation Commission chairperson. So I love doing what I do and love going to work every day and having this view out my window. And again, any questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Well, you got to go to work tomorrow with Gail, and I don't know if she wanted you to blurt out the fact that she graduated in high school in '69 and she's been around 52 years. So I know how women get when you talk about their age. So good luck tomorrow.
She's probably asleep by now because
All right, good. Very good.
But anyway,
Councilor Rotundo.
Mr. President, thank you. I just want to make a comment. I wanted to wait till everyone was able to say their piece, but I just want to definitely commend Bruce Doig and Commissioner Collins in regards to being attentive and responsive, especially a lot of the projects that have gone on in Ryleside recently. The Livingstone Park, O'Bear Park, I always say it's the baby sister to Lynch Park, the incredible views that we're able to have there, the grounds. I don't know if the councilors know, and maybe they do know, that even the public that, I believe the DPW is running at 39 people right now, taking care of 28 parks in the schools. So, it's really great commendment to their work, the professional that they do. Bruce, of course, as I've worked with you closely the past 2 years on various projects. So I just want to thank you for everything you guys do, and do recognize that we do appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Rotundo. Councilor Copeland.
Yes, thank you, Council President. And I'll say this briefly. I'll echo some of what Councilor Rotundo said with Mike Collins and Bruce Doig. Definitely in my short time here, they've been a great support system, along with the mayor working in conjunction with them, from getting Dix Park to extending a summer program there so that we can have camp counselors and kids can go there and enjoy it, to the Wentworth Tot Lot, which we're able to get some more CPC funds to go there as well. It's been a great help, and the city truly has a commitment to its parks and recreation, open spaces for the community, and I'm glad to see that focus for our community, and we have some great people behind it helping us to make sure we have A+ quality in all those things that we do. So thank you for all the hard work and dedication. I know it's not easy, and I know we as counselors have a lot of constituent issues that we have to bring to you, and thank you for how you address those. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor. Anybody else? Pretty easy one. I would entertain a motion to approve the reappointment.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Ames?
Yes.
Copeland?
Yes.
Feldman?
Yes.
Flaherty?
Yes.
Flowers?
Yes.
Houseman?
Yes.
Rand?
Yes.
Rotundo?
Yes.
And Guanci.
Yes.
Order
you very
number.
much.
Oops, sorry. Order number 70.
Yep.
The appointment for the Human Rights Committee, Chief John LaLatcher.
Now, Chief LaLash's appointment came to the council on April 1st, and if the council doesn't take action on a mayoral appointment within 30 days, the appointment goes into effect. So Chief LaLash's appointment went into effect on May 1st. So that said, I would entertain a motion to receive that and place it on file.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call?
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes, and thank you to Chief LaLasher for his continued service on the Human Rights Committee. What else do we have, Ms. Kent?
That is it for me.
All right, great meeting tonight. A lot of great questions, a lot of dynamite answers. I thought Councilor Ames' suggestion to have each new reappointment, the mayor's reappointments to the department heads was a great idea, seeing that we do still have 4 first-term councilors on the board, right? 4? Ames, Feldman, Copeland, who am I missing? Oh, Rotundo. Good stuff. Our next city council meeting will be on Monday, May 17th at 7 o'clock. Does anybody else have anything to add before I entertain a motion to adjourn? All I want to say is that I asked my daughter for a cup of coffee and a piece of banana bread. I said, bring it in at 7:30 and it's 10 o'clock. And I just got a text and said, oh my God, Dad, I forgot. Oh boy, kids, right? Yeah, we're lucky to have them. All right, thanks everybody. I hope to see everybody soon. I know we have charter review on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Council Flaherty. And if anything else comes up, we'll deal with it. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call.
Ames,
Yes.
Copeland,
Yes.
Feldman,
Yes.
Flaherty,
Yes.
Flowers,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Rand,
Yes.
Rotundo,
Yes.
and Guanci.
Yes, and here's Julia with my request. Imagine if you had to come into my store and wait 2.5 hours for a blasted sandwich, right? Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good night, everyone.
Coffee,
Night.
too late. Bye.